Fitzpatrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jet Take. I'm one of your hosts, Ben Blessington. Alongside me, as always, Mr. Money, Kyle Fahey. Kyle, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, Ben. We got a special interview lined up for today. We got some training camp to talk about, and football is literally about 24 hours away from now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the Hall of Fame game. Well, let's hope they can get the field ready this year. But yes, training camp has obviously started. Our last show, it was just about to begin. So we're excited about that. And yes, as you mentioned, we're gonna have Darryl Slater. He's a New York Jets beat writer at New NJ Advanced Media. He's works with that whole beat, and that's definitely an interesting, bunch. And they have to cover all the interesting nonsense that goes on in Florham Park sometimes.
There's a lot of nonsense here.
Hey, well, it's been a quiet off season for the Jets, but anyways, you can always follow us at the Jet Take on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. As always, to listen to our podcast, you can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. We're all over the place, but definitely make sure to follow us on Twitter. And as I said, at the Jet Take, you can also look at our pinned tweets, and we're working with the New York Jets on to bring you guys some discounted tickets if you use our promo code. So if you use the promo code thejettake, you can get a discount on either the home opener against the Miami Dolphins, the home game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then the home game against the Atlanta Falcons. So those three games, you'll see the little flyer as our pinned tweet. So definitely make sure. It really helps out the podcast, and it gets you guys a discounted ticket. So if you're interested in going to any of those three games with a discount, make sure to go check that out. And then later in the episode, we'll have another little promo we'll be shouting out.
We also have another one, right?
Yeah,
we have three this time.
Yeah, oh dang, we got three. I guess the Jet Take's making it big time. But anyways, let's go ahead and get to Darryl. So Darryl, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thanks for coming on and giving us a training camp update. I live in Portland, Oregon, and Kyle lives in Florida, so it's been pretty hard to keep up with camp. But with Twitter nowadays, you can pretty much see every single snap, so it's pretty good. Well, Darryl, as a guy who has been on the sidelines for every practice, what have been your first impressions of this training camp?
Well, I mean, obviously, Christian Hackenberg being the primary guy that everyone's focusing on, and rightfully so, in this training camp for the Jets. He looks better. He's still, he doesn't look like a necessarily fully polished NFL quarterback, which, is going to be hard to get that kind of read anyway from, 4 practices. But, yeah, he looks better. I think that there's some things to be encouraged about with Christian Hackenberg's progress. His footwork, he has not thrown an interception in team periods. He's thrown a couple in the individual drill, 7-on-7 stuff, but nothing in team periods. He's the only one of the 3 quarterbacks who has not thrown an interception so far in team periods. He's getting the number 2 quarterback reps in terms of working with the second team. He's getting the second most number of reps. So good signs so far for Christian Hackenberg. I guess defensively, biggest takeaway, I think this defense has got a chance to be pretty good. Obviously underachieved last year, but for all the rebuilding the Jets are doing, they still have some very talented players on this defense. Mo Wilkerson, Sheldon Richardson, Leonard Williams, those guys up front. But I think Morris Claiborne has flashed a little bit here in camp, a guy who obviously has struggled with injuries throughout his career. So if he can stay healthy, it'll be interesting to see what he can deliver for this team this year.
Yeah, definitely. The Jets' defense is extremely underrated, and I think part of the reason is you look at that defensive line. I mean, you have 3 Pro Bowlers on there, but all at different times, and they haven't been really able to play well together yet. So that'll definitely be something interesting to watch, and then also the rookies in the back end and some of the other areas of that team. But you talked about Christian Hackenberg. Would you say so far throughout, 4 practices, that he is the best quarterback of camp overall, or would you give that to Josh McCown?
Yeah, Josh McCown. But look, I mean, all 3 of these guys are pretty average looking, for the most part. You're not talking about – it's all in terms of relative goodness or success, right? So none of these guys is going out there and lighting it up, number one. And number two, a lot of what they've done here the past couple practices are the short, quick, check down type stuff, little screens to the running back, quick passes. Now, a lot of that stems from the fact that that's just the West Coast offense. That is a hallmark of the West Coast offense. So you'll see a lot of that throughout this year. But specifically, those are things that the team had been working on the past couple days. So it's really hard to get a read on a quarterback in terms of the totality of his game when they're focusing so narrowly on something that is quote-unquote more simplified. So I think McCown has been the best just from an overall consistency level. I think Hackenberg has looked fine. Certainly not much worse than McCown, but a long way to go here. And I hate to read too much into a guy's progress based on a practice when an enormous part of a quarterback's game, which is avoiding getting crushed and making a proper decision in the small window as you try to avoid getting crushed, is not even a factor in a training camp practice. So it's almost like it's like a 3/4 of a football game for a quarterback. It's not even the full totality of what he has to do. So I hesitate to really draw sweeping conclusions until let's get a preseason game in here and see really where these guys are.
Yeah, Darryl, thank you so much for coming on the show. Let's go with the third guy. He just seems to be in the back seat right now. Bryce Petty reported that he's not getting enough reps right now for some reason. They're not giving it to him. Do you have any input on that? Do you have any idea why? Is he looking bad at practice? Give us a scoop.
Well, he didn't say that. He was asked about that. We asked him about it yesterday. He's getting. I'd have to look at the totals, but I think whatever McCown's got, it's about maybe 7 to 10 fewer is what Hackenberg has. So McCown's like 7-10 ahead of Hackenberg, and I think Hackenberg is probably 12 to 15 ahead in terms of the reps of Petty. So, Petty is not getting equal reps to those other two guys, and it's pretty clear that he is the third guy right now, even though the coaches are not saying that. This is a guy who, and so far in camp, I think he's just looked all right, nothing special. He hasn't really done a lot to show he deserves more reps. And you look at last season, this is not a guy who exactly excelled in his limited action last season, playing for the first time, obviously his second year last year. So he said, what he said when we asked him about that was that he's used to that, and he kind of chuckled because this is the same type of situation he was in last year. So he talked about making the most of the reps. He talked about how last year he kind of sulked internally a little bit when he wasn't getting as many reps as the other guys, but he's intent on not doing that this year because, he saw obviously that didn't help him last year to sulk like that. We'll see. It's a tough situation for him, and as he said, and as I kind of alluded to earlier, he really thinks a preseason game is where you can show it. So in his mind, if he goes out and lights it up in a preseason game, even if it's, as the third quarterback in, which it almost certainly will be, that's a chance for him to show these coaches. And he's right. But the other side of that is, does this guy have the capability to do that? Or ultimately is he just a backup quarterback?
Yeah, and I think, if the coaches feel that way, they feel that way. Let's move on to the other positional group in the backfield, running backs. Matt Forte, always seems to have a hamstring problem during training camp. Bilal Powell reports are saying he's looking good. Guys like Jordan Todman, Romo Morris making an impression. So tell us a little bit about that positional group right now.
Yeah, Forte's got the hamstring. Look, he had the hamstring last year too. Obviously, I don't know how severe this is compared to last year's, but he was healthy enough to go out and carry 22 times in the first game of the season last year. So I wouldn't stress too much about the hamstring, and I'm sure he's not, unless it's more serious than they're telling us. So I don't think that's a huge thing necessarily. But, yeah, he is an older guy, so you have to kind of watch out for those things. And the other side of that, too, is he's an older guy. He doesn't need to get 1 million reps in training camp. This is a largely meaningless exercise for him to go through another training camp. Again, I guess I should note, too, that obviously have a new offense, so maybe it's not meaningless because he does have to get some reps in this new offense. But, yeah, ultimately, when it comes down to it in the bigger picture for this backfield, they need to get a more equitable carry split between Bilal Powell and Matt Forte. Powell was vastly more effective on a per-carry basis than Forte was last year. Powell's a younger player. Powell is a guy who has more of a future with this team than Forte does, probably. I would be surprised if Forte's with this team after the 2017 season. So I would look for a more even carry split there. In terms of the third running back, those guys you mentioned are in the mix, to potentially maybe make a practice squad spot. But the third running back will probably be Elijah McGuire unless they try to stash him on the practice squad. Interesting guy as a rookie. They tried to work him in a little bit on the return game stuff in the spring, but we haven't seen as much of that here in the preseason with Elijah McGuire doing returns. So it'll be interesting to see where he fits in. I think from a scheme standpoint, expect this offense to rely heavily on throwing the ball to these running backs out of the backfield. The receiving group is so green that you're going to see a lot of balls thrown to the tight ends and running backs, I think, in this offense this year.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned. You look at every running back on the roster that should be a lock, including Elijah McGuire. They all have that pass catching ability, and I think especially we're going to hope that the Jets start a young quarterback on Christian Hackenberg. I think it would be a bit of a disappointment if Josh McCown is starting the majority of the season. He might start at the beginning, but hopefully the majority of the season it's going to be Christian Hackenberg, and that might be nice for him to have that check down option. Let's talk about the team as a whole. You were at the training camp last year. What are the differences from last year? Are there any? I mean, obviously there's the new offensive coordinator and John Morton. We've heard reports that it's more vocal in practice. But have you noticed any differences from Bowles, the team as itself? Just what are the main differences from training camp?
Well, obviously the makeup of the roster is very, very different. So there are some opportunities here for younger guys or guys who, would be perceived as younger on other teams who would be younger on other teams to have leadership roles. You can talk about a guy like Darren Lee, who's only in his second year, but already, look at how much of a makeover the Jets did of this roster, that he is not necessarily one of the more experienced guys, but he's been around for a year, which a lot of these guys have not been around for a year on this team. And so they don't have, obviously, a lot of long-term veterans. They obviously don't have a lot of long-term veterans, and that's an opportunity for some of these younger guys to step in to a leadership role. So I think that's a difference, and then also they're hitting a little bit more, or they plan to. They hit yesterday, full contact yesterday on day 4, second day in pads. Todd Bowles had come right out and said the day before that he wants to hit more in training camp this year than he did last year, which is interesting. He said he planned to do it even regardless of the fact this team is younger. So we'll see what happens. I guess it seems like a reasonable approach, but hopefully none of these guys get hurt.
Yeah, we saw the report that Marcus May's helmet popped off making a tackle on Leggett, and obviously it's great because the Jets have struggled with tackling obviously in the past, but it's also like God forbid one of these wide receivers or tight ends or running backs whatever get hurt. Then that is kind of on Bowles' hands there. Well, we talked about that. Who is one surprise player that you've been able to witness? And it's a small sample size. There's don't want to take anything out of proportion, but who's one player that is definitely been a surprise so far?
Yeah, I think one guy who made a couple tremendous catches yesterday. A couple of tremendous catches yesterday was Chris Harper, a wide receiver, third-year receiver, has 14 career catches, 13 last year with the 49ers. The Jets signed him in late May. We looked at the roster. I knew he was on the roster, and after I saw him, I saw him make these catches yesterday. 2 really nice catches. One where he reached up, snatched the ball down. Another one, a tremendous one-handed diving catch, which catch of camp so far. Grain of salt stuff here. It's 4 practices in, but. I looked down at the roster and I said, Chris Harper. I said, yeah, I knew he was on the team. And then we were all talking like, when did he join the team? So I had to go back and look. They signed him at the end of May, sort of an under the radar, very much under the radar, free agent signing, a third-year player. He started his career with the Patriots as an undrafted guy in 2015. Like I said, 14 career catches, 13 last year with the 49ers. Good hands, as Todd Bowles said after practice, and then. Bowles said, these were kind of paraphrasing Bowles' words. He said, I want to see what else he can do. So obviously there's more to playing receiver than just that. But look, if you look at in the bigger picture here at this receiver position, opportunity for a guy like Harper to potentially take that number 3 spot. Quincy Enunwa, obviously number one receiver. Robbie Anderson has proven to some degree, I guess. I mean, he had a pretty solid year last year, but he's by no means a solidified player. But that number 3 spot, who's going to be that guy, or even the number 2 spot? No time is promised necessarily to Robbie Anderson. So who will be that complimentary guy? Well, Chad Hansen maybe, or Darius Stewart? Those are a couple of rookies who have dealt with some injuries here early on. But could Harper, if he continues to progress like this, could he jockey for some playing time?
Yeah, for sure. And, I definitely don't want to get our hopes up about Harper. He sounds good, but, we don't want to fall into that, Chris Owusu, Jalen Marshall,
Here we go again.
of the training camp stud that just doesn't do anything.
Right.
I guess Robbie Anderson, ended up now as the starting wide receiver. But you talked about Harper.
Assault stuff. Check back with me, maybe we can talk again later in camp. We'll all have a more accurate read on what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. And
part two?
I mean, part 2 of the Darryl Slater interview. But could you see the Jets carrying 7 receivers as they did last year? I mean, obviously, probably the 5 locks, you could say. I mean, I guess maybe you have Enunwa, Anderson, Stewart, Hansen, and then probably Whitehead. It just sounds like that. Now, who do you see as that 6th receiver? And then could you see the Jets maybe carrying 7 like they did last year?
Good question. I think a lot of it depends on the return game stuff, which, like you alluded to, Lucky Whitehead, so he could be the guy that'll be the return guy, and that'll be one receiver spot taken up. The other spots will potentially depend on special teams ability outside of returning, like who can maybe be a gunner. So Harper would be in the mix for one of those spots. Sharon Peak. Would they try to maybe stash Peak on the practice squad? Could they get away with that? I think there's a chance they could get away with doing that. I don't know if another team is pining for him to be on their active roster. I think those are the guys that, like you said, are the locks. And then I don't know. I mean, it's too early to say 6 or 7 right now. I actually have to sit down and do a roster projection at some point. But the roster has turned over so much here, especially at that position. One thing to remember, you alluded to him earlier here in the call, and I noticed you obviously correctly didn't put him on your roster projection there, is Jalen Marshall, because he won't technically be on the 53-man, being that he's serving that 4-game suspension. So he still will be on the team, so it's almost like an extra spot there. But yeah, so I think a lot of that depends on special team stuff beyond the return game, right? So like if a guy like Harper can provide the Jets a little bit of potentially as a gunner, that'll help his chances.
Yeah, absolutely. And through these 4 days of camp, and like we said, it's a small sample size, but who do you say would be like the disappointment so far?
The disappointment so far.
Besides the team and general, just as an individual.
Besides everything about the organization,
yeah.
Trying to think. Well, look, I mean, I think our Darius Stewart is a guy who is behind right now, because not necessarily anything for his own doing in terms of him being terrible. He's been hurt. He came off the shoulder or whatever it was, pinky and then groin. Those two things I think he had in the spring.
Yeah.
Those surgeries. So he has some catching up to do here. You're talking about a rookie who is trying to learn an offense and trying to find his way and a role on this team. And he insisted in the spring that he wasn't going to be behind because of these injuries, which is exactly what you expect a player to say, obviously. But he's behind because he's not getting as many. He hasn't gotten as much action as the other guys. Chad Hansen was in team drills yesterday. Didn't do much in team periods, but he did made a couple nice catches on deep balls, which is why the Jets drafted him in the individual drills. So I think Stewart, a disappointment just because of the fact that he hasn't been out there as much as they had hoped because of his injuries. Now, we'll see how much these linger, if at all, but I think that would be one guy who I'm sure the Jets coaches would like to have gotten more exposure to so far at the early juncture here in camp.
Yeah, I'm a big Darius Stewart guy, so I'm kind of offended, Darryl. We're not friends anymore. But let's just put you in a scenario here. Say you're Todd Bowles. What has been the biggest concern for you so far during camp?
The biggest concern, I think, is just the youth of this team. I mean, there are mistakes that are happening out there. You hear these coaches yelling at these players. I mean, John Morton's voice is already shot. Through 4 practices at camp, this guy is out there, and he sounds like an '86 Datsun with a broken muffler. I mean, that's how scratchy and rough this guy's voice is. Because this team is young. This team is young, and they're going to make mistakes. And I don't necessarily know if that's going to be a concern for Bowles. I don't know if he's disappointed in it necessarily. He knows this roster. He knows what he has here. He knows, I'm sure, in his heart of hearts, that this is a team that is not exactly built to contend. He's not stupid. He understands what he has going on here, and I think he should rightfully be concerned about some of the mistakes they've had. Just little things throughout practice. But again, I think it's still early, so I don't know how overly concerned he is. I think it's too early, maybe, in his mind, based on how he conveys things to us, to either be too worked up or worked down, if that's the opposite, about on the positive or negative side about anything that's happened. 2 practices with no pads, 2 practices with pads, just 1 period of full contact. So it's really hard this early to draw major sweeping conclusions. But I think from a broader picture, that's got to be a concern for Todd Bowles. The youth and mistake-prone nature of this roster, which surely was a concern for him entering camp. This isn't something that, he showed July 29. He's, oh my God, these guys are terrible. I think he knows the limitations.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you look at the youth, and right now, and definitely throughout the season, that is going to be a negative thing. But you look back, that could be a positive thing by year's end. That this team, has some young studs and some areas they need to work on. We'll continue talking a bit about training camp, and then we'll move on to 2017, and then we'll let you go, Darryl. We know you're very busy. But I want to ask a few questions here. One of the things that's jumped out to me is that Brent Qualley has been getting a lot of the reps at right tackle over a guy like Brandon Shell, who many presumed would be probably the shoe-in for that right tackle spot, even though he hasn't proved much. But he is a McCagnon selection, and last year he played in 3 games and he looked pretty good. So is there a reason? Is there just something like is Shell injured, or is it just Bowles' preference? Is there a reason Qualley's playing over Shell?
That's a full-on competition right there. I don't think the coaches don't view it as this is Shell's job by any means. One thing to remember: Qualley did get a lot of action early last season when Breno Giacomini was out, and so remember him and Ben Ijalana split those right tackle reps. It split the action during the game, I should say, not practice reps necessarily, but those 2. So Brent Qualley is pretty experienced. I mean, if you look at his stats, he doesn't necessarily have a lot of starts on there, but remember, him and Ijalana were swapping series for those early games before Giacomini came back, and then obviously he was done again after that. But yeah, Shell got the action late in the season after the Clady injury, and Ijalana had to slide over there. They would prefer, I'm sure. Qualley is not an old player. I think he entered the league in 2014 or something like that. So, even if Qualley wins the job and beats out Shell, I don't think that the Jets would view that as a negative thing, because he's also a fairly young player, which is a good thing for this team as they rebuild. But no, I think Shell and Qualley will both get a fair shot to win this job. Right now, as you mentioned, Qualley is getting the initial first-team reps, but Shell's getting plenty of action out there too. I think, in an ideal world, would they want Shell to go win this job because they drafted him last year and traded a pick to draft him? Sure, I think that would be a fine situation for them, but they're going to give the job to the guy who's best, and if that guy is Qualley, it's not like he's some 35-year-old dude. I mean, he's been around for a couple of years, but he's still relatively young.
Yeah, and that right tackle spot is definitely a position to look at. I mean, the offensive line, especially, again, we go back to it, especially for a young quarterback, having a solid pocket to work with is definitely a positive. A few other players that I want to mention who were on the team last year, had quiet years last year, but have supposedly had strong camps. Sheldon Richardson and Austin Seferian-Jenkins. We had Seferian-Jenkins on the show last week, and he talked about his weight loss. Now I believe he's lost 33 pounds. He's in the best shape of his life. And then Sheldon, I mean, he's in a contract year, but maybe hopefully there's more to that. What have you seen from these guys? Because we've been hearing reports that Austin Seferian-Jenkins is playing very well at a position the Jets haven't had in a while. And then Sheldon is a guy who has kind of been the odd man out recently with Leonard Williams and Mahal Wilkerson getting his contract and Leonard Williams the first round pick. So talk a little bit about Sheldon and Austin Seferian-Jenkins. What have you seen from them?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, having Austin Seferian-Jenkins on the show last week, I mean, interesting cat. He's a pretty thoughtful and introspective guy, and has spent a lot of time this offseason talking about, as I'm sure he did with you guys, the transformations he's made in his personal and professional life. And, pretty heady stuff for a 24-year-old kid to kind of confront at this point in his life. I mean, that's what we got to remember. The guy looks like he's 35 years old. I mean, he's an enormous dude with a big beard and but he's still a 24-year-old kid. I mean, he didn't look like I didn't look like that when I was 24. But you got to remember the mentality and sort of the mental hurdles that he had to kind of overcome this offseason, seeking treatment for his alcohol problem, confronting that, and losing a total of 33 pounds, 25 of which he lost from the end of the season to spring practices, and 8 more over the past month before training camp. This is a guy who's transformed his mind and transformed his whole state of being and transformed his body as he enters a contract year, which, look, I mean, I'm sure he's not going to come out and say it, but, let's be honest. That's got to be a motivation for him. He's a former second-round pick who's underachieved so far, but as you guys mentioned, as he enters his contract year, big-time opportunity to contribute in not only a West Coast offense, which will value the tight end after he gets back from a 2-game suspension, but a team and a roster that, as we've mentioned throughout this, has a lot of question marks at receivers. So he was basically a de facto receiver at Washington. That's what a lot of these college tight ends do. The blocking stuff is still something he's not necessarily a master of. I think this is a huge opportunity for him, and he's seizing it. He's done a really nice job so far. He has really, really looked impressive so far in camp. Sheldon Richardson, he's such a prodigious player. He has so much talent and potential, but he's a guy that has just had missteps. I mean, I don't necessarily, people talk about this as he's new and transformed this year, and it's been a while since he's had issues. It's not been a while since this guy had issues. It's not. I mean, last year he was late and was suspended for a game that the Jets lost in very close fashion in Miami. He, did that ridiculous thing on Snapchat, which, whatever, there's no crime in that, but it brings negative attention to the team. I think most of all, the thing with him and with all players is you have to be available. I mean, it's one thing to not be available because of an injury. It's another thing to not be available because, number one, you fail so many weed tests that you get suspended. Number two, you get arrested for a high-speed police chase. Okay, so those things are in the rear view. But number three, you're late and you're suspended. Yeah, you're suspended for a quarter. Yeah, so he has to be available. It hasn't been a long time since he had an issue. He just had the tardiness issue last year, which that's something that your teammates need to be able to rely on you. But when he's out there, when he's available, when he's got his head on straight, he's a really fantastic player. I don't think he will be with this team next year because what would have to probably happen, I think, is Muhammad Wilkerson would have to really struggle, and the Jets would, they could cut him after this year. It would take a $9 million dead money hit, but they'd save $11 million against the cap. And then, maybe in that type of situation, they would sign Sheldon Richardson. But I think ultimately Sheldon Richardson will go wherever he can get the most money, which is in no way, shape, or form a knock on him. I'm not saying that every NFL player has the right, as every person does, to go maximize their value. I mean, these guys are playing a dangerous sport, and they have a small earning window. So by all means, go maximize your value. I mean, I spoke to him in the spring, and he said he wants to stay with the Jets, but he's not allergic, he said, which was funny, not allergic to going and playing elsewhere. Well, of course he's not. He's going to go where, a team that can pay him. But remember, the Jets will have a lot of cap space next year. They'll have $80 million potentially in cap space, counting carryover space. So it's not a priority, though. That's the issue. He is not necessarily going to be a priority for them to retain because they probably will have Wilkerson. I'd be surprised if he's cut. And they'll have Leonard Williams. So I think ultimately this is a tremendous prove-it opportunity for Sheldon Richardson to, go show he can still do it and still be dependent on and make a ton of money from somebody, probably not the Jets, next offseason.
Yeah, and I think that's the view of a lot of fans right now. You just can't trust the guy, especially with the talent we have there. And, there's even talent we don't really look at right now who's buried on the depth chart. But let's talk about some talent right now that's young. We've brought up young. How about the rookies? You mentioned Darius Stewart. You talked a little bit about Marcus May. What about the other guys?
I guess we'll start from the top. I mean, Jamal Adams has been really, really impressive. I mean, as advertised so far. Ran a piece this morning on Buster Screen saying that he thinks these two guys already, through 4 practices, will be an upgrade over the Jets safeties last year. Now, look, as I said to Buster Screen when I was talking to him, I said, well, that's not exactly going to be very hard. But and he's not going to trash Calvin Pryor and Marcus Gilchrist, not going to trash these guys directly, but it's all right there in what he said. You can obviously everybody knows, and even that he's acknowledging as openly as a player will acknowledge it, that the Jets did not get safety production last year, enough of it, and that these two young guys have a tremendous amount of potential. And let's see what they can do when things actually start to happen. I mean, it's one thing to look really good out here in practice, but so far so good for Jamal Adams and for Marcus May. I mean, and then moving down the line, the receivers, we touched on those guys. We didn't really talk too much about Jordan Leggett. He's a little up and down camp so far, but another guy who will have an opportunity to play. And remember, with Safarian Jenkins missing the first 2 games, Leggett will be presumably the Jets starting tight end for the first 2 games. Trying to think of who else. Dylan Donahue's gotten some work with the ones here. Todd Bowles has said they're just kind of taking a look at everybody with every grouping. But that's a good sign for Donahue. Potential pass rushing specialist type guy. Don't think he'll be a starter this year, but has done some okay things. McGuire we talked about a little bit earlier. And then the last 2 guys, as I'm looking at the draft list here to make sure I don't miss anybody, Jeremy Clark and Derek Jones. Well, Clark has got the ACL. He's recovering from. He's on basically the NFI list. He's hurt, so he's not practicing. Yep. And then Derek Jones. Nice breakup yesterday in practice from Derek Jones. I had to look at my roster to remember what number he wears when I saw 31. Who's that? And that was Derek Jones. Nice breakup. But another guy who, he's not going to be a starter. Let's see what he can do maybe as a special teams guy.
We had him on the show about a month ago, and he promised us that he's going to hit Tom Brady really hard. So we're hoping he makes the roster.
Who's that, Derek Jones?
Yeah.
What is he going to
I don't know how we got there.
What position are they going to play him at?
Well, we brought up how that there's that play when the Jets hosted the Patriots in November where Brady comes out as the blocker, and we were talking about.
Okay.
It was something we just said, Derek, if you're ever in that position, we said, Derek, if you're ever in that position.
That's cool that you guys are getting these guys on. That's nice.
Yeah, we don't know why they're coming on, but somehow we're getting them.
Yeah. Ben slipping them a lot of money under the table.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but I want to talk about special teams. You brought up Lucky Whitehead, as somebody who might take one of those receiver spots, Elijah McGuire. I'm interested to know how these rookies like Derek Jones and Dylan Donahue, will they be integrated in the special teams to kind of, not for necessarily Dylan Donahue, but for guys like Derek Jones, keep their spot on this roster. So, how's the special teams looking? Brant Boyer, we heard he's being vocal. What's going on at camp over there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Boyer has always been a very vocal coach since he got here last year. Jets special teams were terrible again last year. Terrible. Like worse than even the year before, which is, if that was even possible. It was possible. Then that happened last year. They were worse than they were in 2015 when they were dreadful. A lot of turnover, obviously, recently with the special teams coordinators, and Todd Bowles wanted some stability, so he retained Brant Boyer rather than firing him along with all those other coaches he fired. But it's hard to get a read on special teams in these practices because they don't go full speed on special teams, which for good reason, obviously. So we can see some of the personnel groupings, but they mix and match a lot. So it's really too early to get a full read on like who might be these guys who will be, major special teams contributors, just because they're not really running full speed out there in practice because of safety issues and all that stuff. Like I said, Whitehead probably the returner. Even though that competition remains wide open, he could certainly screw it up. And then in terms of another part of the special teams, and obviously an enormous part of the special teams, the punting game. Lachlan Edwards. I mean, this is an offense that's probably going to have to punt a lot this year. So Lachlan Edwards is going to be out there a lot, and he wasn't good last year as a rookie. But he's the only punter they have in camp right now. They have a kicking competition. I would expect Chandler Catanzaro to win that. But Edwards needs to be better. He absolutely needs to be better than he was last year when he was among the worst kickers in the NFL in terms of yards per punt. So that's a special teams thing not a lot of people are talking about, the punting thing, because number one, he's the only punter on the roster. Number two, he was kind of blah last year. But again, like I said, if things go like people expect, the Jets will be punting a lot, and they'll be playing the field position game a lot, trying to win a lot of low-scoring, close games while leaning on their defense. And if you have a really good punter, that kind of helps with some of that. Or it certainly can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the field position battle is going to be huge, as you mentioned. I mean, it's going to be a lot of defensive, low-scoring, ugly games. So
yeah, I mean, and that doesn't mean you can't win. I mean, it does. Sure. Yeah, I mean, Todd Bowles will take that. I mean, whatever he has to do to win, if he can get to 6 wins this season, I think by all means this guy should keep his job if he gets 6 wins. That's the goal. I don't know if you guys disagree, but look, I mean, this roster is one of the worst rosters in the NFL. So what does the ownership expect from this guy? So if he wins 6 games, is he a bad coach, given this roster? I mean, what would Bill Belichick do with this roster? I guess we don't know, obviously, because Bill Belichick has had the best quarterback maybe ever.
To leave on us. So he has an opportunity.
So yeah, I mean, look, I think in the ultimate big picture of things, I think if the Jets win, if they win fewer than 5, I think he's gone. You can argue whether that's right or not, because whether he was given a fair shot or not. But I think if they win 6, it'll be an interesting conversation. They're not. I would be stunned if they win 7 games. If they win 7, this guy should get votes for coach of the year.
Yeah. I know it's a little off topic with the interview, but you brought it up, and it's kind of like a fiery topic for me. I don't think he's going to get fired either way, because I think management has him in that situation right now where we're in on the rebuild. I'm not going to say the T word, but I don't think they're going to let him go, but I personally do think he will. But that's a little off topic. Let's just go on to the next question though. Let's talk about the defense. They've been performing well, and they've been dominating the offense, particularly the offensive line. Is the defense just playing that good, or is the offense under these quarterbacks just that bad?
Mix of both. Yeah, mix of both, to be fair. Like I said, you know what you're getting from these guys up front. There's some uncertainty in the back end as the Jets rebuild back there. We all know the quarterbacks have their limitations, so I think it's been a mix of both. But, some of these guys have done some good things. Morris Claiborne has looked pretty good. Marcus Williams has made a few plays. I think a guy to keep an eye on in the back end is Justin Burris, because when the Jets go to their base defense, it's Screen and Claiborne. When they go nickel, it's Claiborne outside, Burris on the other outside spot, and Screen to his natural slot spot where he's better in that nickel. So it looks like Burris has kind of moved a little bit maybe ahead of Marcus Williams in that regard, in terms of being a guy who can play on the outside. He's got the coaches think he has really good potential as a press man coverage corner, and that's what they do a lot of with this Todd Bowles defense. A lot of the press man coverage, and Burris that's why they drafted him. Big physical corner, had to make the adjustment with not being as handsy as you can be in college. They let you be more handsy down there in terms of the rules, and that was an adjustment for Burris. And I think you've seen him maybe turn the corner a little bit with that.
So you brought up Juston Burris, taking this step forward, and I completely understand the schematic part about that. But what about a guy like Darryl Roberts? We haven't heard much about him, and based on what you said, he wasn't really involved there.
Yeah, a guy that they had some hopes for going into this camp, and not to give the sense that all is lost or anything for him, but it hasn't really flashed a lot yet. Very early still, so who knows? But hasn't flashed a lot yet. Maybe ultimately just a depth player, a special teams player. Did some all right things last year, so certainly not out of the mix, but he's a guy that that's those cornerback spots. Even as the Jets revamp their secondary, and especially because they are revamping their secondary, there's a lot of competition there that, just because of the nature of this roster, I don't think a lot of us are looking at this team. I don't think a lot of fans are looking at it and necessarily wringing their hands over every little competition and piece of minutia, just because this is more about a big picture season. But for these guys, it matters. For these players, it matters. And if you want to dig in a little bit and look at some of those under the radar things that not a lot of people are talking about competition-wise, beyond the quarterback competition with a capital C, the backup corner, the reserve cornerback, a little jockeying spot for rosters there is an intriguing one because it's crowded. And you have Burris, where does he fit in? Roberts, Marcus Williams, a guy who's made plays for this team. So that's a kind of a neat little secondary storyline, I think, for this team.
Yeah, for sure. And Darryl, our last question for you. Concerns this season. What are your expectations, your predictions for this year? For a plethora of things. What type of offense will we see? Who's going to be that starting quarterback? What can we expect? Final record? Just kind of your overall predictions for this year. I know it's a broad topic, but what can fans expect from this 2017 team?
I guess I'll just run it down from in the order there. I think start small. With the offense, as I mentioned, I think you'll see an offense that throws the ball a lot to their tight ends and their running backs, because the receiving group is so green. I think tight ends will be involved a lot more in terms of the quarterback position. I would be surprised if Josh McCown is not the week one starting quarterback. I think he will be. I think you'll see Hackenberg at some point. My guess would be after midseason, but not too far after midseason if things go as expected, which is to say a lot of losing. But I went through the game-by-game record prediction, and I actually, probably in some people's mind, a little bit of an optimistic prediction. I picked him to go 5-11. I think I picked him when the schedule came out to go 6-10, and then recently here I picked him to go 5-11, which again means absolutely nothing because it's just blind guessing. But I think they have a chance to surprise some people. I don't think they're as bad necessarily as people think. I think there's no way this team goes 0-16. That's a really hard thing to do in the NFL, is to go 0-16. Just like it's really hard to go 16-0 because there's so much parity in this league. So, you don't even see teams win 15 games a lot, or 14. Teams generally don't even get close to winning 16. And, obviously, 2 wins is fairly, reasonably common in the NFL. So could the Jets win 2 or 3? I think it's entirely possible this is a 2 or 3 win team. 1 or 0 I don't think is going to happen. But, hey, I'll stick with my 5-win prediction, and it's I guess a different one, or bold, I guess, which is crazy to say, but
yeah.
People chuckled when Muhammad Wilkerson came out and said that guaranteed the Jets would win more games than they did last year, and people say, oh boy, really setting a high bar there. But I think he said those things before they cut David Harris and Eric Decker. So if you look at 6 wins now, that is a high bar for this team. That would be an accomplishment if this team won 6 games. Absolutely it would be. And to your larger point, I guess the final prediction being the final outcome, what will happen at the end of the season, I agree with what you said about – I don't think
look, the optics are horrible if a team goes 0-16, right? So there's no way Todd Bowles will keep his job, right or wrong, if they don't win a game. He just won't. If they win one game or two games, it's probably in that same boat. If they can get to 3, 4, 5, 6, I agree with you because, look, everyone in this organization is supposedly on board with this long-term rebuild. So how do you go and fire a coach when you give him a terrible roster and you're doing that in the name of a long-term rebuild, eye to the future or whatever, but then you fire him? So it's his fault. So he's a bad coach all of a sudden because he couldn't win with a roster that nobody could win with. So Woody Johnson, you never know. You think you figure him out, and he's an odd duck sometimes with some of the decisions he makes. I mean, you talk about going back, when he fired Mike Tannenbaum and hired John Idzik, and Idzik and Rex Ryan obviously didn't get along. Not only that, they were on different paths for the mission. The coaches needed to win now, and the GM was looking toward the future. Now he brings in Maccagnan and Bowles together, but obviously Maccagnan did not hire Bowles. This was an arranged marriage. They have separate responsibilities, which is fine. That can work. I just think to scapegoat a coach, that's not the biggest problem. I'm trying to think of an analogy that would work here, but I guess I don't know. It would just be too clunky. But you get the point, though. It's you're not really addressing the problem. What is that going to fix? So you fire Bowles after they win 4 games, and then all of a sudden you expect to be good next year? No, it wouldn't be his fault, I guess. Except here's the except, and here's why I think I know some of the other writers or whatever has said, why not just give him a contract extension for Bowles? Because if the locker room falls apart again this year, that's on him. I mean, if they have discipline issues, if they have chemistry issues like they did last year, and they struggle, even if they win 5, 6 games and they have those issues, that's on the coach. And that's why you can't go out on a limb and give this guy an extension in the name of a rebuild, because there were issues beyond the fact that they lost last year. They had chemistry and discipline issues in their locker room. Now, a lot of, Brandon Marshall's gone. He was a big flashpoint for a lot of those chemistry issues. But what about the fact that, look, 2 of your star defensive ends were late and could not be relied upon by their teammates to be available for a game because of their tardiness, not the very simple act of showing up for work on time. So that's something that Bowles, I think, certainly has addressed, needed to address, and if he doesn't show this season that he did successfully address it, then there's a good chance he will be fired and should be. But I think he has the respect of this team, and they're young, so I don't think you have as many kind of hard-headed older players. But that said, the 2 guys who were suspended in Miami last year for tardiness issues, which is just as big of a thing as snipping between Sheldon Richardson and Brandon Marshall, if not bigger, those 2 guys are still around in Richardson and Wilkerson.
Yeah, for sure. And you talk about Bowles and some of the stuff he has to improve on. Definitely another one is his game management. It's just been an inexcusable thing that's just plagued him. I mean, I remember he called a timeout against the Steelers when we're trying to, stop the clock and stuff, but the guy ran out of bounds, so there was no reason to call a timeout. But he's just
on the punt. The punt in Pittsburgh. Remember that?
Yes. Oh boy, the 4th and 2. But it's just like there's a good 6-10 and there's a bad 6-10, and I think I agree that I do believe that the Jets will win more games than last year. And although that's a low bar, I do think the Jets will win 6 games, 7 games. I see that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's some talent on this team, and I don't necessarily see this team as getting too much as being too much worse. I think they got rid of a lot of big names. But you look at the production those names had, and it was kind of small. And everybody we've talked to, on the team, and they're not going to trash their head coach on some small podcast. But it sounded genuine when the guys talk about Bowles and how much they do respect him. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting season. Probably the most
that's
exciting.
A good point.
Yeah,
Mangold was Mangold. He was still Nick Mangold, but he wasn't really Mangold, at the risk of sounding like Mike Francesa there. But when Mangold is Mangold, right? But He was hurt for half the year. The guy was hurt for half the year. They cut Brandon Marshall. He was terrible. It's not like he was a difference maker for this team last year.
Yeah, he had
David
the
Harris
highest drop percentage or something of all AFC receivers or something crazy.
David Harris is still a fine player. Eric Decker wasn't even on the team essentially last year. So, to cutting these guys and acting like it'll be a drop-off. Now, if these guys would come back and return to form, obviously, that's another story. That's why, this is a big picture season for this team. And the biggest storyline is Hackenberg. I mean, that's what we started with at the beginning of this thing. And I think there are some fans who are literally just watching this season to see what Hackenberg can do, and you can't blame them. That's a huge storyline. So if you're paying attention for no other reason than Hackenberg, that's a plenty good reason to pay attention.
Yeah, it's a young, exciting quarterback. Good or bad, Darryl, thank you so much for joining us. Really quickly, please shout out where can our listeners follow you? I'm sure most of them do already, as you're a pretty prominent source on the Jets beat. But your Twitter, where can they see your work and whatnot?
Yeah, it's just nj.com/Jets is the website, obviously, and then on Twitter it's just Darryl, Darryl, Slater, Slater is his Twitter handle. Pretty simple. So just those two places, and it'll be all of our. And obviously Connor Hughes and I cover the team together, so all of our work is in those two places, and you can see it all there.
All right, Darryl, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, we apologize for taking up so much of your time, but we know you're a very busy man. But you gave tremendous insight into the team, and we're sure our listeners will enjoy. So thank you so much, and maybe we'll do this again later in the season. We'll see how everything panned out.
Great.
All right, so that was Darryl Slater. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Darryl Slater. That's Darryl Slater, Slater. All right, and Kyle, tremendous knowledge as always. Darryl there gave some great insight into the team. But anything that stood out to you from that interview?
I really liked how he talked about the rookies and how he was honest with us. He's like, they're rookies. They obviously have a lot of talent, and he just let us know they're progressing. So don't freak out if they're not doing phenomenal. Like in their first couple games. And I feel like a lot of fans, including myself, specifically with Jamal Adams and Darius Stewart, I expect them to come in. I expect them to be very good, which, is unrealistic. So that really stood out to me, just like his pure honesty. I'm not sure if he's a Jets fan, but he's definitely unbiased. So that was a good thing.
Yeah, no, he's a fair. I mean, he's one of my favorite guys to follow in the Jets beat. He tells it like it is. I mean, he's not. I will say,
Ben. Shout out.
I know. Kimberly Martin.
Wow,
Kimberly Martin
leaving us for a town that doesn't have Uber or Chick-fil-A. I mean,
yes, Kimberly Martin, one of our favorite Jets beat writers, is leaving to join the Buffalo Bills.
Do we blame him?
As we tweeted out, the Bills are already 1-0 versus the Jets this year. So the Jets beat lost a good one. But yeah, I mean, the other thing that stood out, Darryl's obviously tells it like it is. But again, I mean, he's one of the few. I mean, if you were to ask a lot of the beat guys, I think a lot would say Hackenberg looks like the best quarterback. I mean, that's what I've read. It's not, unanimous. It's probably, 70-30, 60-40. That might, again, just be because people want to see Hackenberg succeed and people, don't really care about McCown. But yeah, I mean, Kyle, really quickly, because we went pretty long in that interview, longer than we expected, because he was just, giving some great insight.
Chock full of knowledge.
Yeah, and then we were asking some follow-up questions. But the thing I kind of wanted to touch on the end is, he talked about if Bowles will be back in 2018.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to ask about McCagnon because, he was saying, well, they gave him a terrible roster, really. And, you can't say this roster is, completely terrible. It's not 2013, 2014 terrible. It's just young. It's really young. I mean, there's a bunch of talented rookies, and then there's some undrafted rookies, and there's some young players that were, good last year, but we haven't seen them in full time, so of course they're not going to get the respect that, Brandon Marshall or Eric Decker would. But there's young talent across the board, and then this year is just to see, okay, what worked and what didn't work. And hopefully by the end of the year, the Jets played hard, Bowles fixed some of his, game management mistakes, the chemistry is there, they win more games than expected, they don't have to make playoffs or anything for Bowles to come around. And then, you saw more guys, take that next step. There are more like, okay, this worked, we can go into 2018 with, X player. And then there will also be some duds. Like, this didn't work, we need to get rid of this player, we need to add a position here, and whatnot. But Kyle, I wanted to ask you again about McCagnon. A lot of Jets fans have turned a lot of heat towards Bowles, and not as much towards Maccagnan. And I personally like Maccagnan, not just because I met him, but because as you said to me last night when we were talking on the phone preparing for the show. I mean, you and I both agree that he's probably one of the best GMs the Jets have had in a while. But like, you think about that, what are we basing that off of? Is it just that he's the most sensible? Well, I mean, is it just because he's the most sensible? Like,
it's not much success to base it off of. And
well, I mean, he went 10-6 his first year and took a team that was 4-12 and took it to 10-6. He got all those exciting free agents like we wanted, and that was good. And then he got brought back Mo. And at the time, a lot of people wanted Fitzpatrick. He did end up getting Fitzpatrick back. And then it's like, so what exactly and then now people wanted to rebuild and he's done it. So is it kind of just he's done what the fans have wanted each individual year? Is it that he's the most sensible towards the media? I mean, you look at it individually each year, he's done pretty well. And his draft picks, I have to say, I mean, you look at his first-round draft picks from when he was the head of college scouting in Houston to now, his first-round draft picks has had, fairly good success. I read an article.
J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, just to name a couple. Whitney Merciless. That's why, like, I believe in Maccagnan more than I believe in Bowles. Bowles has just shown me as a coach he's clueless, at least these first 2 years. Let's see if it improves. And he's relied on guys like Chan Gailey, older veteran coaches who know a thing or two about the trade. I think that's why he's hiring his own guys now, bringing in his friends. Obviously Casey Rogers was here, brought in Stump Mitchell, brought in the cornerbacks coach. I'm forgetting the name right now.
The quarterbacks coach?
No, the corner. What's his name?
Morris Claiborne?
No, the coach. Cornerback.
Denard Wilson. Sorry, I thought you were talking about players.
Yes. Oh, I thought it was Howard Wilson for some reason, but I didn't want to be completely wrong. So he's bringing in his own guys. Maybe he's getting a little more comfortable. But regarding Maccagnan on like this quote-unquote hot seat, I think he's on the cool throne. I think he's done a good job. I think he's proven to me that he knows when talent's there. Did we need to draft Leonard Williams? No, we had an abundance of talent there. But we did, and now we have a Pro Bowler.
Now he's our best player.
Yeah. Did we necessarily need to draft Jamal Adams? It's a coin flip. We could have gave Calvin Pryor another year. We could have got O.J. Howard, Christian McCaffrey.
Glad we did.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure we get one of the best safeties to come out in a very, very long time and something that's going to completely transform our defense. And that's not even mentioning the late-round finds like Brandon Shell, who we'll talk about a little later, Deion Simon, Lawrence Thomas, Jalen Marshall, Robbie Anderson. I mean, he's made good moves to, when you think about who's on this roster now, compared to who was on in 2014. We got more playmakers. I think we got better long-term playmakers. The whole offensive line is his, basically. He either re-signed them, drafted them, traded for them, whatever. He got them in there, or he re-signed them. He made the move to keep them. So they're his. Quarterbacks are his. Running backs are partially his, exception to Bilal Powell. Wide receivers are basically all his. And I can just go on for how he's rebuilt this roster. And it's young. I know a lot of the guys aren't going to pan out as we hope, but it really only takes like 5 or 6 guys out of like the bunch of 20 that we have to make a difference in the NFL. You look at most teams, they usually have like 5 really good players. And, that's what I'm hoping for right now. So
the other thing is I'm sorry, continue.
So, no, I don't think Maccagnan's on the hot seat, but I also don't think Bull should be fired after this year because he is working with a bad team, and I'm not going to crucify him.
Well, as Darryl said,
Darryl Slays, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say Slater and then said, but if as Darryl said, there's a good 6-10 or 5-11, 4-12, whatever the Jets finish, and there's a bad 6-10. If the team is not, as he said, not doing well with chemistry, the clock management is not getting better, the Jets don't look good, and then I think you can question, should the Jets fire Bowles, and should the Jets try to go after a former head coach like, John Gruden, who's rumored to
John Gruden, Jeremy Bates, 2020.
Or John Harbaugh, who could be fired if the Ravens don't make the playoff. There's all sorts of scenarios that, of course, Jets fans will.
Here's the scenario: if they sign Kaepernick, all that things, it's going to be bad press for a while. The owner doesn't want it.
When are we signing Kaepernick?
No, the Ravens. This is the scenario for Harbaugh to get fired. He's already kind of on a hot seat because, they're not been too successful. They go sign Kaepernick, all that bad press, jersey sales are probably going to go down. The owner's going to be mad. That dude will be out the door so fast. And if the Jets don't pounce on John Harbaugh, I don't know what.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, the Ravens have a tremendous GM in Ozzie Newsome, but, apparently...
I disagree at this point.
I think
he has made
he's
that
a well-respected he has a well-respected name. You can argue, years past they haven't. But and this kind of ties into what we're talking about with Maccagnan. I mean, you look at the best teams, it's not necessarily all about who you take in round one. It's your late-round drafting. You have to look at Maccagnan. Yeah, I mean, but I think that's part of the reason is he's had some success. I think the Jets see him as a football guy. Idzik was more of the cap, guy trying to get the Jets. And then Tannenbaum was more the wheeler and dealer, like, he was a bit of a football guy, but he was more, I trade you for this, I'm going to get this, and he was disregarding the future. Maccagnan is more of probably the most sensible GM the Jets have had in a while, probably since Parcells. I don't know if that's too broad of a statement to make, but I believe that's probably about right. I mean, and yes, he took the best player available in Leonard Williams. He took the best player available in Jamal Adams. And now they're
arguably the best player overall in each individual draft.
Yeah, you could definitely make that argument. And, we haven't seen Jamal Adams on the field, and, Leonard Williams could definitely plateau this year. Hopefully he doesn't. But those are arguably the two best players on this team right now. And, we don't know about Jamal. But you have to love, Jamal's attitude, his passion for the game, as evident in his comments this week about saying, if you have to pick a place to die, I'd rather be the football field. And the same sentiment was shared by Morris Claiborne. But, I love Adams. I love the enthusiasm he brings. He clearly wants to be here. I think he'll pair well with May. But, that's the other pick, May. I mean, Marcus May, the Jets didn't have to take, but now you look back, it's like, well, thank God we did, because who would be starting? I mean, would we be starting, Adams at free safety, or Doug Middleton, or Calvin Pryor, or he's basically the
Darren
Jets.
Lee. I mean, basically, that's who I would put back in there.
No, the Jets looked at their team, and although it says, well, the Jets took two safeties, it's like, although the Jets' corners were bad last year, their safeties were truly
no safety help.
Yeah, their safeties were terrible. So they're going to go through some growing pains this year. They're not going to be perfect, but hopefully they'll show enough by the end of the year that, hey, these guys are here to stay. But you look at Maccagnan, I think that he's done some good things. Obviously, the Leonard Williams pick and the Jamal Adams pick, Adams we haven't seen yet, of course, but he looks good. I mean, you hear reports about him in training camp, calling out the plays of the offense, which is like, gee, I mean, that's insane. Yeah. If he can do that in, game day,
that's that Coach O coaching down there, man. All football, 24/7. That's what you gotta do. Coach O, baby.
and then the Darren Lee selection is probably his only, But I will say on that, I mean, Darren Lee is the new age NFL linebacker. He's kind of, he's fast, he's athletic, he's a little smaller, but I mean, he said it himself. The game is slowing down for him. If he can just kind of play this year, you could see it last year that a lot of his mistakes were mental. Obviously, it wasn't. It has nothing to do with his physical.
He would just run.
It wasn't that. His size really had nothing to do with it. It wasn't that he was small. It was really because he was making the tackles when he was getting there. Is that he was basically, he had to choose between the exit ramp and staying on the freeway, and he was just hitting the divider like every time he was in a passing situation. So he's still, but he has a lot of potential.
Concrete. Is that what happened to his ankles? Is that what we're doing now?
I guess so. No, God cursed his ankles.
God cursed his ankles, yes.
But this year will definitely be a big year to tell how Maccagnan's late-round draft picks are doing, his second, third, fourth-round draft picks. And, obviously a big one among them is Christian Hackenberg, and we'll talk about him in a bit. But this year will be, big to look at that. And then I think the Jets should give him next year. But, who knows? If the Jets are truly terrible this year, I don't think they will be if the Jets are just awful and they fire Bowles, and then it's like the Jets are picking in the top 3 to get their quarterback. I mean, a lot of fans are going to be like, is Maccagnan the right guy to take this quarterback? Because, I mean, he took number 5, and look how he panned out. I mean, we're just paraphrasing here. I think Hackenberg will at least be solid this year, but, if he's not and the Jets are terrible, I don't know I think fans might be calling for Maccagnan's head. So Maccagnan better hope that they're
going to be another website up.
Maybe Kyle. All right. Well, we will. I guess we'll leave it at that. Kyle, before we continue, we have a few things to shout out. We're going to be joined here shortly by Seat Giant, and we're going to be doing a little promo with them for discounted.
We're sellouts, guys.
Yeah,
we're sellouts, guys. We're sorry.
For discounted Jets tickets, but we're going to be doing that on preseason. He'll explain it or her preseason.
Yeah, we don't necessarily know yet. We can't assume. 2017, guys.
Feminism right there. But we might be we'll do preseason tickets and regular season tickets. But the 3 games that we're working with the New York Jets. To give you discounted tickets. So, I mean, the rest of the games will be on Seat Giant, and you'll get discounted tickets. But the 3 games that we're working officially with the New York Jets, this really helps out our podcast. tremendously, and we're glad to be working with the Jets. And I announced it at the beginning of the show, but again, if you want discounted tickets on the home opener versus the Dolphins,
that's a big
you can
one.
also go the second game versus the Jaguars, second home game there. And then the third home game, actually there's the Patriots game there. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. But there's 3 home games against the Dolphins, Jaguars, and the Falcons. The home opener, and then two home games there. And you can get discounted tickets from the Jets there. And then the rest of them, we'll talk to Seat Giant in just a bit here. You can get on Seat Giant. Anyways, Kyle, I know you have another thing we were...
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, man, regarding the promo code for the Jet thing, I will go and buy those tickets just to see Julio Jones in person. Like, I don't care if he's burning my team. Julio Jones is a spectacle. I would pay that money just to go see that man play. But yeah, we do have another sponsor, and that's for Play Like a Jet. Make sure you guys don't miss the Play Like a Jet, your weekly look back at the biggest moments in Jets history every Friday, including this week, which features Kerry Rhodes talking Pennington's revenge and the end of Brett Favre and Eric Mangini's time with Gang Green. Check it out this Friday on iTunes. You can find it on turnonthejets.com and anywhere else you can download the podcast. So go follow the podcast
there. Yeah. We're plugging each other's shows, getting to different markets, but definitely go listen to that show. Tremendous. I listened to 2 of their parts of their Kerry Road interview, and it's interesting stuff because you look at all the Jets podcasts now and they talk about current day, and occasionally they'll talk about past events. But I love this podcast.
We're too young for that, Ben. You got to remember.
We need about 50 more years, then we can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll have Seat Giant on in a bit. But before we do, Kyle, I guess we'll go back to talking some more Jets. Just had to make sure we got those plugs in.
Yeah, this is how we make our money, guys.
I guess so. Anyway, so let's talk a bit about training camp. The last time we had a show, the Jets were not in training camp, and now they are. So we've had four practices. There was not a practice today. Anyways, so Kyle, let's talk about the storylines. I know earlier Darryl talked about it, but from your perspective, obviously, again, you live in Florida, I live in Portland, Oregon.
Not from our perspective, Ben. Got to remember that.
Kyle.
Other people's. Yeah.
Kyle, from your perspective on Twitter. What have been your takes on training camp?
Well, my Jet takes on this is that the D-line is back to its form. This is what I'm excited about. I said it on Jet Nation Radio. If this D-line gets to where it used to be, all these players where they should be as individuals and as teammates, best D-line in football, not a question in my mind. Aaron Donald's only one dude. We got 3 Pro Bowlers. So I'm excited. I understand that the offensive line's learning a new offense, new verbiage. They're working with Josh McCown, Christian Hackenberg, Bryce Petty. So it's not the best possible scenario for them. But still, if we just hear every day from various sources that, all right, there's another sack. Leo, Mo, we saw Mo. It wasn't from today, but it was from one of the days where he just lit up Bilal Powell in the backfield. I don't know if you saw that, Ben, but I'm excited for this D-line. And I'm also excited for Jamal Adams. We talked about it a little bit earlier on, already picking up the offense, which I don't know if that's good or bad. It may be bad for our offense, meaning, wow, a rookie who's been here for about 3 weeks total already knows our offense like the back of his hand, or Jamal Adams is just that good of a player. So I'm excited for our defense. Been hearing some good things about Hackenberg. The glove makes the difference, folks. It's proven. He's just got to wear it 24/7. And the second that comes off, you better bet that we're rioting. So.
And he's played well. I mean, he talked about, Christian Hackenberg's been wearing a white glove in his non-throwing hand. I don't know why we care, but he said it gives him better grip on the ball. Easier
Small
to throw.
hands.
But really, I mean, I love how you just throw aside the Rams' defensive line. You're not even going to consider Robert Quinn or
Quinn,
Dominic Easley,
the end of
Michael
his career.
Brockers,
Dominic Easley tore his ACL today, so he's out for the year.
William Hayes.
I don't think he's on the team anymore.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think he went to the Dolphins.
Let's check this. He is now on the Dolphins. You were correct.
Dinosaur.
That was an old depth chart.
So you're giving me Aaron Donald against
you got Robert Quinn.
Ooh, Robert Quinn. Oh, God. I'm shaking in my
boots.
Dude,
I will say this. You can say that about the Jets' defensive line. Although each individual has had a tremendous season. 2013, Sheldon had a tremendous season. 2014, I mean, Sheldon and Mo kind of both had solid seasons. 2015 was really Mahan Wilkerson's year, and then 2016 was Leonard's year. But they've never really all been able to play as all three of them. There's been times where two of them have played well and been on. Week 1, Mo and Leonard were on, and then week 7 against the Ravens, Leonard and Sheldon were on, and obviously Sheldon and Mo were doing well in 2013 and whatnot, or 2014. But they have not been able to really put it all together. On paper, this defensive line is fantastic, but they honestly play better when it's just two of them right now. And I think the Jets, are just, they have to see how Mahan Wilkerson's looking. I think Sheldon definitely looks more motivated this offseason.
Why?
Yeah, it might be because he's in a contract year. It might also just be because, he's made his mistakes. He's no longer suspended for the start of the season, so maybe he's a little more motivated and excited about the year. But I'm excited to watch him this year. I think, if he's playing really well, though, and Muhammad is also playing back to 2015 level. I'll say this. If Muhammad's back to 2015 level, Leonard's playing like he did last year, and Sheldon, so they're all on. They're all playing to their tops. I would trade Sheldon if you get a good deal. If you get like a second-round pick or something like that, you trade him.
Yep.
You never
Absolutely.
know.
Because then...
But I will say this. If Mo is just playing terribly, then maybe you try to move him, but I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to try to take on that contract, so you might have to cut him at the end of the year, as Darryl said. Again, I almost did it again. But
don't we have an out?
That's the only situation. Yeah, we do. We can cut him. We save $11 million, but we lose $9 million there. So net gain of 2 there. But
any gain's a gain. Hypothetical. Let's just say on paper, because it obviously wasn't like in real life. But the defensive line 2015, Mo, Leonard, Damon Harrison, Sheldon Richardson. Most talented D-line ever? Like, on paper. Just on paper. Not, like, on the field.
You could look at the New York Sack Exchange, maybe. I think there's the Steel Curtain. Maybe there's a few other ones there.
Yeah.
You could say
one of them.
On paper. Yeah, on paper, I mean, you look at each individual. As an individual, each has had a Pro Bowl year. I believe Damon Harrison was a Pro Bowl last year. I might be wrong.
No, he made first team All-Pro, but he was not a Pro Bowler. So
that makes no sense. Okay, so they're either an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler, but altogether they have not been able to play. We might be looking back at this and saying the Jets should have kept Damon Harrison and let Mahan Wilkerson walk.
I disagree.
No, I'm not saying that now, and I was on the boat of keep Mahan Wilkerson.
Yeah.
So, because the whole thing with Sheldon was still up in the air, and then we thought, Steve McClendon's actually played pretty solid, but we'll see what the Jets do. I mean, I think the Jets, I know Bowles likes his 3-4 defense, but the Jets might honestly be suited better for a 4-3 type of defense because Darren Lee's better as a 4-3 outside linebacker, kind of tweener guy. And then
he's got to be on the weak side.
Yeah, weak side, outside linebacker. And then it's like the 4, you could maybe put, Leonard and McClendon in the middle, and Williams and Sheldon on the outside, whatever you do there. But I think the Jets will do a little bit of both. That's basically what Bowles has said. He's not going to stick to just a 3-4 or a 4-3 defense there. And back to Hackenberg. I know, or back to the quarterbacks. I know your guy Bryce Petty. That was your favorite to win the starting job, at least. What's going on with your man Petty there?
It's rigged. The quarterback competition is rigged. They are setting me up for failure. I mean, you can't trust these people. I mean, come on. They're setting him up for failure. No, but seriously, I don't understand it. Why, first of all, why bring in Josh McCown? Why? That's my first question. 2, if you do bring him in, why pay him $6 million? And 3, why pay him $6 million to come in and take reps away from a quarterback who has actually shown you something on the field last year? That just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, to say showed you something is a little...
Ben, that 49ers game, though it wasn't impressive stat-wise, he was making good decisions, being shell-shocked by that offensive line. Ben, try throwing with 2 seconds.
Some of those. Okay, first of all, he got bailed out by an interception by Quincy Enunwa with a one-handed diving catch.
Well, that's what you expect your wide receiver to do.
He lobbed the ball up to Robbie Anderson, I think twice into triple coverage.
He diced it in between 2 dudes.
No, he ran to his left side.
Ben,
you're right.
I watched the 49ers game 3 times, unfortunately.
Oh, not 3 times. But,
yeah.
Look, I watched it. I've seen that play multiple times, because you're like, what an amazing throw. But it's like that easily could have just been an interception. And then it would have been like,
but it wasn't. He had the velocity off his back.
No, it easily could have been. What about the Quincy Enunwa one? That literally was in the dude's gut. there was no.
He didn't come up with the play, Ben.
There's no excuse. That was maybe the best play we had all season. Was Quincy Nunn not allowing that to be an interception?
No, Sharon Peak fumble return for a touchdown.
That's not our best play of the year, but
we didn't have a lot of good ones. So
I would say it's probably Quincy Nunn's butt touchdown catch. That's what I would say.
Flipped below Powell.
I mean, it's just a basic hook and ladder, but
because that just happens every day in the NFL.
It doesn't, but I'm just saying that is the concept. All right, well, Kyle, I guess while we wait a bit, we'll go to our callers.
Where's our money, man?
They might have been on Western time with me, so we'll see where C-China is, and if not, we might do it. We could end up doing it next week. Oh, really quickly before we do have a very special guest. Well, we're not going to announce it now. We're going to wait till we get the date down. But we do have it confirmed. We have.
Can I sing a song for him?
No. Don't sing it.
No, it's not going to bring too much away.
Kyle, do not do anything.
All right.
Just stay on your leash.
Ben doesn't want me to sing. He thinks he's all high and mighty now because he's on the cover of GQ. I mean, I don't.
No, Kyle, it's because you're crazy. Anyways, no, we do have a very special guest on the line. I think it's probably the biggest we've had on the show. So we're pretty excited.
Not on the line.
Yeah, no, not on the line now. We're just
he said on the line.
No, on the show. Okay, what, Kyle? In the next few weeks he'll be on the show. We might do. Could be this next week or the week after that or the week, but it'll be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm expecting next week though. We booked it down. We'll announce it on Twitter. We'll make sure to promote it, but it'll be a really fun interview. So we're excited to bring you guys that, and then we also have some other guys that we're booking that are on the team, and that we could bring on in the future weeks that we've booked down. So we have big things coming. Is basically what I'm saying. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to Tyler. One of our callers. Tyler, okay, am I correct? Is it your birthday? Did you? I feel like you tweeted.
My birthday is this Saturday.
Your birthday is this Saturday. Okay, we have a soundbite.
Congratulations.
Well, yes, congratulations.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, we have a soundbite somewhere if I can find it. Just Kyle.
Stall. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah.
Stall. Oh, there it is.
Yep. There we go. Producer 1. Hey.
Okay. Anyways, no. Who's
that was better than Little Yachty's album, honestly.
Migos right there. Anyways, Tyler, thank you for calling in. Happy birthday, man! In a few days. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
That's good to hear. You excited? Training camp is underway. The Jets have had a few practices. Do you have any takeaways from what you've seen on Twitter and stuff about training camp?
I've seen some, not much though.
Or what is the number one thing you're most excited for about this season?
Josh McCown getting hurt and Christian Hackenberg.
Oh no! Come on, man! Don't wish injury upon someone. I mean, the dude's had his fair share of injuries. No? All right.
I just wanted to sound too.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the quarterbacks. Okay, so you said you haven't seen too much, so we'll inform you from what we've heard. Christian Hackenberg looking good, or looking better, I should say. Looking good for him, which is not good for the average NFL quarterback. So what are your thoughts on Christian Hackenberg, developing and being better? And do you think a new system or a new quarterback coach has changed that, changed his development?
I think it's a new system because Chan Gailey's like a power run offense or something like that. And what's his name, Morton?
Johnny Mo. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of dink and dunk, easy routes for Christian Hackenberg to execute. Remember, get the verbiage down. It's a good thing for a young quarterback to rely on his running back and, not have to make a lot of throws and then, get overhyped at the end of the year. But, we're heading in the right direction. Some development's better than no development. let's talk about the defense. We've been hearing some good things about Morris Claiborne, a scrappy guy out there getting into a fight with the popsicle stick, Robbie Anderson. So do you like the fierceness coming from the Jets practice right now?
Yeah. Morris Claiborne, he's good, but when he's injured, he's kind of down there.
Yeah, he is injured a lot. I mean, he only played 7 games last year in the regular season and then 1 in the playoffs, which probably won't apply to us, but, there's always hope. Let's talk about the offensive line. Apparently, they've been getting beat all week. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think guys like Kelvin Beachum or Brent Quale are struggling, or what would be your guess? Because we don't necessarily know. And for the record, Kelvin Beacham's a friend of the show, so whatever you say will be heard.
I got nothing to say to that.
Hey, silence speaks many words, Tyler. That's how ashamed we all are of the offensive line at this point. What about the tight ends showing up? Austin Seferian-Jenkins, another friend of the program. Jordan Leggett, rookie, looks like he's going to start the first 2 games while ASJ is on his suspension. Are you excited for finally having tight ends that not only have talent but are going to be used properly?
Yes, definitely.
And why is that?
Morton's trying to get some calls on tight ends like ASJ and Jordan Leggett, and I'm excited for the tight ends.
Yeah, I think we all are.
Yeah, for sure. And you look at the offense in years past; they really haven't had an effective tight end since Dustin Keller in 2010, maybe. Maybe that was probably the last.
About Target
2009. 2009.
Well, 2009 and 2010, he was on the team both years. But I think, that era of Dustin Keller from 2008 to 2010 was pretty good for the Jets tight ends. And then you go before that.
Receivers back then. Really?
We did have good receivers, but Keller was really playing well for about 3 years there, and then he
Dustin Keller's a beast.
Yes, he is. And then 2011, I'm trying to remember what exactly happened. I think he kind of just wasn't as effective. And then 2012, he went to the Dolphins and tore every ligament.
2011, he tore an ACL, right?
No, I think he left in 2012. I'm pretty sure he was on the team in 2011, but I might be wrong about that.
I remember seeing on the bottom ticker, it was when I was really hardcore into the logistics part of the game and not just the team. It's Dustin Keller signs good contract with, I can't remember the exact figure. So
he signed a big contract with the Dolphins, but I'm pretty sure that was 2012.
Yeah, and I remember that pissed me off pretty bad that he just backstabbed us.
No. Well, anyways, it's been a while, and I'm excited that he's going to be incorporating them. And I think we have 2 talented tight ends. I think the Jets have not only not incorporated tight ends, but you can look at it might be due to because they haven't had anybody on the roster really. Jeff Cumberland, Kellen Davis. Brandon Bostic. But Austin Seferian-Jenkins lost 33 pounds. He's in the best shape of his life. And his rookie year, he was really good. And apparently he's in much better shape than he was in there. And apparently he's been a beast in training camp. We can't, multiple tweets have said
can't
confirm. Can cover number 88. And then the other one, Jordan Leggett is a nice receiving tight end out of Clemson, drafted. I'm excited that the Jets have finally invested some sort of resources in there. And then, you have to watch for the third guy, is that going to be Brian Parker? Is Eric Tomlinson, Jason Vanderland? I've heard Vanderland has looked pretty good. Also, Brian Parker's looked good. So that third tight end, who will actually be technically the second tight end, because Austin Seferian-Jenkins suspended for the first 2 games. So the Jets will undoubtedly keep one of those guys as the second tight end, and then possibly keep him into after Seferian-Jenkins' suspension if they look good enough. Well, Tyler, I want to ask you a bit about the wide receivers. How many wide receivers do you think we'll keep, and who will they be? I mean, obviously you have Enunwa, you have Anderson, you have Stewart, you have Hansen. Those are the locks. So there's 4 down there, and then the rest. I mean, you're either probably going between the 5 to 7 range. So do you see 5, 6, or 7 receivers, and then who are they? I mean, you can look at guys like Lucky Whitehead. With his returning, he's been, obviously he's a pretty good guy to watch. Sharon Peak from last year has a good size, showed some stuff. Chris Harper has been a pretty good training camp stud, along with Gabe Marks and Deshaun Fox, Frankie Hammond, and Miles White. And then you have some veterans and Marquise Wilson, and Jalen Marshall, who's suspended for the first 4 games. So out of that, long list of, I believe that's like 9 guys or so,
Yeah.
Who gets those final, 1, 2, or 3 spots, depending on how many you keep?
I'd stay around 6.
And so then who would be those? Who else would make the roster? Would you keep Whitehead for his returning abilities?
I'd say, let's see, Anunwa.
Mm-hmm.
Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Hansen and Anderson.
Robbie Anderson, right?
Yeah, so that's 4.
That's 4, okay. Any other receivers?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So would that 5th one, would you keep Lucky Whitehead, the guy we just signed from the Cowboys for his returning abilities? Would you keep Sharon Peak? So you're saying 6. So there's 2 spots there. Would you go Whitehead, Peak, or Chris Harper? Basically, those are probably the top 3.
I'd say.
And I got that, by the way.
Sharon Peak and Lucky Whitehead.
All right. Well, I think that's generally what I have. I might keep 7 though, depending on, if Harper is that guy.
So depending on injuries, I'll take 7, but we'll keep it at that.
Well, yeah, you have to remember. I mean, I think one of those guys that I mentioned, and maybe it's a guy I didn't mention, that's really behind. I mean, you look at 2015, there was Chris Owusu. 2016, there was Jalen Marshall, and eventually Robbie Anderson. There's always that undrafted guy that plays well in preseason. So I think they'll probably keep. I think Whitehead's pretty much a lock unless he starts fumbling kickoffs and punts. I mean, unless he does that, I think he's or if somebody else shows a better returning ability. But he seems like he's probably the best returner, and he has some skills at on the deep ball, he's some speed. I think Peak will also make it. He has the experience with the offense and a good size. And then it's that other guy, if they're going to keep, or maybe one of those guys will get cut. But I think that other guy, maybe it's Harper that shows, Gabe Marks, whoever it is. And then really quickly, Tyler, before we let you go, because we have to get to our sponsor here in a second, could you see the Jets keeping 4 running backs? Matt Forte has a tweaked hamstring, so he's a little iffy right now. He probably won't play in that first preseason game, even though he probably would if it was a regular season game. But you look at Forte and Powell's injury history. I mean, they've both been pretty shaky. We don't know what McGuire's injury history is like. God forbid, he has injury issues. Could you see the Jets keeping either Romar Morris or Jordan Taubman, or do you think, Romar Morris is eligible for the practice squad again? Jordan Taubman's not. Taubman also brings the return abilities if Whitehead doesn't pan out. So could you see the Jets keeping 4 running backs, and they're obviously also going to keep a fullback, whether that's Julian Hauser or Anthony Frisker. So could you see the Jets keeping 4 running backs, or do you think it'd probably be the standard 3 running backs?
I'll take, let's see, Powell, Forte, McGuire, and an extra one like Romar Morris.
Yeah, and Romar Morris, I mean, he's a really interesting guy. I mean, you look at he has that 4.3, speed, or he has the ability to run 4.3 speed. He has some tremendous, open field ability. So he's a guy that I'm really interested in. He really performed well last preseason. All right, Tyler. Again, happy birthday, man. We wish you the best of luck.
Unbelated birthday. Happy unbelated birthday.
Yes. Yeah,
I got one more question for you. Before let me go. I got one more question.
All right, go. You can go.
All right. Pretty much every Jet fan would like this, but what do you think of Chad Pennington being head coach?
He is not
hard pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. Well, I mean, look, I think if Pennington is going to go the coaching route, look, he's relatively young. I think he should try. I'll say this, Tyler. I would be in favor of him maybe being the quarterback's coach first, and then seeing how he develops. But we don't know how his game management skills is. I mean, I guess he was a quarterback, so he has a basic understanding. Obviously doesn't have probably the ability to teach a defense and all sorts of stuff. So I think, if the Jets right now, Pennington's more focused on the media. He's been featured on the Jets website quite a bit, so he's probably more focused on the media side of the NFL, not really the coaching side. But if he does decide to go into coaching, I think he'd probably start with the quarterback's coach, or maybe go to the college level and be an offensive coordinator, offensive assistant.
Marshall Thundering Herd, baby.
We'll see. Well, anyways, Tyler. Well, thank you so much for calling in. Really quickly, please give out your social media where our listeners can follow you.
You can follow me at thejettake96 on Twitter, and what's on Instagram? TMJ1996.
And really quickly, Tyler, we have to ask you: is the tank in your username have anything to do with? Yeah. Are you saying the Jets are tanking, or is that?
No.
He's just a tank, Ben. He's going to steamroll you. He steamrolled you this episode. That's what happened.
It's nothing with the Jets tanking.
All right. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for calling in, man. Happy birthday, and wish you the best of luck.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Is it weird that I said congratulations instead of happy birthday at first? I don't even know why I said that.
You know what, Kyle? We all make mistakes. But again, that was Tyler. We'll make sure to tweet out his Twitter. Interesting stuff there. We'll talk a little bit more about the positional numbers. I mean, Kyle and I will probably review our depth charts going into the Week 1 game or the preseason Week 1 game next week after we've had the green and white scrimmage. Because we gave our depth charts last week, so we'll probably review them, make some changes.
They're already wrong. Just want to say they're already wrong.
Yeah, yours is. Mine's still eligible, but Katie Cannon already got cut.
Katie Cannon. Come on, man. I mean, you have so much talent.
Within 48 hours of releasing it, you Kyle's wrong. All right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and control that. Yeah, I know. Let's go ahead and get to a very special sponsor on the line. We're going to bring him on, and we'll talk a bit about some Jets tickets and then some other questions. So, anyways, thank you so much for calling in. Seat Giant we're very excited to work with you. How are you doing, man?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me. Really excited about being here.
Well, yeah, thanks for coming on, man. So, really quickly, I mean, let's try to explain this to our listeners. What exactly are we doing? What exactly does Seat Giant offer? What is this overall partnership, I guess?
Yeah. So is this on right now, or is this just you and I talking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So SeatGiant.com. So we have over 1,000 tickets to every Jets game all year long. You name the seat, we have it. But if you go to SeatGiant.com, you can actually see the view from your actual seat. Which is really cool. So rather than going to Scalper, rather than going anywhere else, we get under face value. You name it, you want to sit anywhere in the stadium, we have your ticket. So, the way we source our tickets compared to our competition is we get either from brokers or we get our tickets direct. So we've never, and I don't say this lightly, guys, but we've never in the history of our company had a fake ticket. So we're super excited about the fact that, we give a guarantee to every single customer who purchases those tickets, but most importantly, customer experience to us is always number one, and we'll make sure that throughout the entire process.
Well, yeah, I mean that's awesome there. I mean it's obviously a very inclusive experience, and it's definitely sounds like it's making it a lot easier for fans to go to games and stuff. Let's talk about the promo that we're doing with our podcast. How can fans use our code and get a discount, or what exactly are we doing?
Yeah, so if you get to check out on www.thejettake.com, and when you get to checkout, click that promo code button and put in thejettake, and that'll actually give you a discount code at checkout. It'll save you guys some money, but most importantly, you have every single seat, every single section, every single game, over 1,000 tickets loaded, and a lot of cases, guys, will even beat the box office.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I want to talk about the view of the seats, because that definitely interests me, because I know whenever we have the local Mets affiliate down here, I know you really don't have a good view of what you're seeing, and they have a big net and it's kind of bulky, it's hard to see through, and I have been caught in between that weird space. So is it like a photo? Is it 360? I mean, either way, it's pretty cool.
Guys, a photo would be bringing in a rookie who never played college ball, right? So no, absolutely not. It's fully interactive. You can actually see the seat and actually see the view from your seat. But the cool thing is, take us on the road. And a lot of fans are doing that now too. It's not just seeing the Jets play at home, but when they're on the road as well, and you want to go catch a game, don't go to a scalper. Don't believe seating maps. Go to SeatGiant.com. Click on the interactive seating map and look at the view from your seat. We feel it's important that the customer gets the ultimate experience. And that's something we provide here at SeatGiant.com, and we will make sure, and again, I don't say this lightly, guys, but we guarantee your experience and we guarantee your ticket. Check us out. You will love us. That's a promise.
All right, well, thank you. Sorry, Kyle, continue.
So you're offering preseason tickets, right? Is that right around the corner?
We got preseason tickets as low as $10. We got regular season tickets as low as $30. Again, guys, we'll beat the box office, but more importantly, I think this is the season, guys. We're going to shock the world.
We hope so.
As a Jets fans, I think we say that every season, but for different reasons. Anyways, thank you so much. Again, guys, if you're going to buy Jets tickets, go to Seat Giant, use our promo code thejettake, helps out the podcast, and you get a nice discount on the tickets. Again, thank you so much, man, for calling in.
Hey, listen, I can't end it without saying Jets, Jets, baby. Thanks,
we
guys.
love it.
Thanks for checking out Seat Giant. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for calling in, man. Talk to you soon.
You got it. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
See ya.
All right, he said it best.
He said it best. I just woke up from a nap like an hour ago, and that guy just woke me straight up.
Yeah.
Very energetic.
You sure it wasn't like the smoke, like choking you? Ben is surrounded by I don't know if you got
right now.
He lives in parts of Oregon that are just surrounded by smoke for some reason.
No, not normally. It's because it's 105 degrees right now. So I think
all the hippies burning out there.
Yeah. So. That's why they legalized weed. Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah, very, very energetic there.
Yeah, go check out Seat Giant. He said it best, www.seatgiant.com. You check out, you get your Jets tickets. If you want to go to the game, they give you 360 view, which is phenomenal. I don't even know how they necessarily do that for almost every seat. I imagine that took a lot of work. So they're putting in the effort. They're giving you a good ticket, and you guys can help us out a lot. If you just use your promo code thejettake, and why not use it? You're helping yourself. You're saving money.
Yeah, you're already getting.
We're putting money in your pocket. Thank you for listening.
And Kyle just hangs up. Well, no, not only are there cheap tickets, but you can get them from even discounted. I mean, imagine a preseason ticket that's $10. Use our discount. We'll see how much that knocks that down. But definitely make sure to go to Seat Giant. Again, promo code thejettake. And then again, as we mentioned earlier, for the official New York Jets tickets, we are officially working. I have to watch my words there. Officially working with the Jets.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Officially working with the Jets on 3 games this year. So you can use Seat Giant for all the preseason games, the rest of the games. But 3 games, you want official Jets tickets. You can get them at a discount. Great seats. Again, the home opener against the Dolphins, and then against the Jags and against the Falcons, you can get official Jets tickets. Great seats, also at a big discount. Yeah, all right.
We got tickets. We got tickets.
We're making money. 3 plugs, I guess. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
We'll just keep moving. We'll keep moving with the phone lines. We got quite a few callers on.
Crowded
this week.
Yeah,
I know. Crowded little
we
party
finally have something to talk about. I mean, we finally have something to talk about.
I know. Well, I guess next on our line is Jaden. Jaden, man, how you doing?
How you doing, boys?
We're doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Finally good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you, and it's also good to have training camp is back on the schedule, so it's fun to talk about. Jaden, let's open it up really quickly. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. That's the position everybody wants to talk about. Christian Hackenberg versus Josh McCown versus Bryce Petty. Bryce Petty's not been getting as many snaps. Christian Hackenberg and McCown are kind of neck and neck. I mean, we had Darryl Slater on the show, and he said that McCown was probably in the lead, but Hackenberg's looked much better than he did last year, light years better. And then other beat writers have said Hackenberg looks better than McCown. So kind of a neck and neck race there with Petty back in third. Jaden, what does Christian Hackenberg, and you could also throw in Bryce Petty here, have to do to, I use quotes very lightly here, steal the job from Josh McCown?
Lucky Whitehead?
I'm sure they just have to go out there. They just have to go out there and impress the coaches. Do what the coaches want and perfect the playbook and make those throws.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think everybody in the Jets front office, and you can even say the coaching staff, wants to see Hackenberg be the starter. You want to see Hackenberg be better than Josh McCown. I mean, it is kind of depressing to think. It is kind of depressing to think. But if you think about it, Josh McCown, think about how he performed against the Jets. Christian Hackenberg is just barely around that. So, I mean, that's kind of, it's not always correct. That's not always correct. Some guys definitely practice better or play better than they practice and whatnot, and maybe, maybe McCown's performing a little better because he's in shorts and a T-shirt, doesn't have a live rush. But base estimate, that's right around where he's playing right now is the Josh McCown level of play. Yeah, and the other thing, and this goes for Petty, and Bryce Petty did this last year, which was really impressive because he forced the Jets to keep 4 quarterbacks, was he played very well in preseason. I mean, Jaden, what is the what is the importance of preseason? To all these young guys. I mean, can you put it into words from yourself? I mean, to not only guys like Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg who are trying to steal a starting job, but you can look at guys on the back end. Miles White, Frankie Hammond, guys, Xavier Coleman, guys who aren't really projected to make the team right now.
Shameless shout out, Ben. Come on now. Xavier Coleman.
Yeah, so his brother goes. Him and his brother both go to my high school. Or went to my high school. What is the importance of preseason there?
It's really just going against different players rather than your own team, your other defense. So it's just out there making your marks and impressing the coaches and out there like making plays.
Yep, making plays, making moves. I think that's what we're looking for from all the young players. Let's talk a little bit about the young guys in the secondary. We're going to overlook, guys like Morris Claiborne and Marcus Williams right now. Let's talk about Justin Burris, Darryl Roberts, guys like that. Even throw in Jeremy Clark and Derek Jones. Yeah, friend of the show. What do you think they're going to have to do, to come and make this roster? Because, it's not necessarily the most talented group as of right now. Obviously, guys developed. They're all pretty young. But they still have to earn this roster spot, and it seems as right now that guys like Morris Claiborne, Justin Burris, Marcus Williams, and we'll throw in Darryl Roberts all have their roster spots. And usually teams only keep 4 corners, and we also have what's his name? The safety / corner Ben. Ben, help
Corey
me.
White.
Oh, forgot about Buster Screen. Crap.
Corey White.
Corey White. Yes, I wanted to say Darryl White for some reason. So we also have him who can play safety and corner. So what are these young guys going to have to do?
Like I said, they really just have to, make their mark, impress the coaches, The thing I really like is, obviously, I'm sure everybody's seen this, that Jamal Adams has got that confidence. And if you really have that confidence, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, you got to have that swagger about you. You can't come up to the line and be timid like, Christian Hackenberg or Bryce Petty, just shell-shock and timid. You got to be able to come in, make plays in the NFL, and I think you're right. I think that's what Jamal Adams is going to do. Let's talk about the young guys on the defensive line, and not necessarily what they have to do, but what you think they're going to do. Obviously they have talent in front of them, our 3 guys, Mo, Sheldon, Leo, but then the guys behind them, Deion Simon, Lawrence Thomas, Mike Pennell, I guess we can kind of consider him young, Claude Pallone. I mean, they're all young guys. So what do you think their role this year is going to be, and do you have any predictions for who's going to make the roster?
I really just think they're just going to be depth guys. Obviously, we have those big front runners that are really going to make their impact in the game, but they're just really going to be. I see bigger things coming out of Deion Simon this year, just obviously progression wise, and I don't know. I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting because this team has so much potential. It's just they don't really show it to me. I mean, they haven't shown it to me. So
yeah, I don't think they've.
Well, let me chime in here, Kyle. I mean, look, I actually agree with that. The Jets do have quite a bit of potential. I mean, that's not an insane statement to make. Here's the thing about potential, and I think I've said this on the show, a month ago, but. It's kind of like a pile of manure. If it goes untended, it's just a pile of manure. But if you water it and then you fertilize it, yes,
you're gonna fertilize manure, Ben.
Plants,
isn't that the whole
growing? Then then it can turn into something
Is that
beautiful.
How we're made,
you could.
Is that how we're made?
Okay, Kyle. Yes, Kyle, you were made in a lab. But then it can turn into
a lie. That honestly does.
Then you can eat it. Not the manure
not me.
itself.
Not me.
Not Kyle or the manure itself, but the apple or that analogy is pretty terrible. Anyways, the potential is okay. I don't even know where I'm going at. Anyways, the Jets do have a lot of potential. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit my day. I'm not gonna quit my day job. But look, the Jets have a lot of potential. I think that's pretty evident. It's just a lot of young guys, but nothing has really been proven. Jaden, let's talk a little bit about the positional battles. We have a few here. I mean, there's quite a few going on in training camp right now. We'll start with the right tackle position. This is one that's a bit of a surprise, but Brandon Shell versus Brent Qualley. We talked to Darryl about it. Qualley's been getting a little bit more of the snaps than Shell has with the first team, but it's a competition between the two of them. Qualley got a lot of work last year. Shell got limited sample size, had about 3 games that he started, but Shell looked a lot better than Qualley in his small time. So most people, including myself, assumed Shell would be the starter. Who do you think will win that battle at the right tackle position?
I personally hope that Brandon Shell wins it, just to get him into a starting job, and then that obviously will help him progress into becoming a beast, hopefully, in the future years.
Yeah, and he was definitely one of those guys I was really excited about. Last year getting to watch. Towards the end of the year, the Jets actually started doing what they should have been doing, pretty much all year, which was playing the young guys, playing guys like Sharon Peake over Brandon Marshall, guys like Brandon Shell over Breno Giacomini. A lot of that was due to injuries, but we at least got to see some guys like Justin Burris and whatnot. And, this is the year we really get to see them and see them in starting roles. And, some of it might be good and some of it might be terrible. Now, the quarterbacks we talked about, Hackenberg, Petty, McCown. What's your prediction for week 1? Right now, I'll say this. Right now, obviously I'm not at practice, so maybe I'm not entitled to my opinions, but I think that, if it's close between Hackenberg and McCown, like it is right now, I think they'll go with Hackenberg. So, and it's close right now. It's not a unanimous McCown's ahead. It's not a unanimous Hackenberg's ahead. Pretty similar reps. McCown has a bit of a higher completion percentage, but Hackenberg has looked much better with his arm talent and some of the throws he's made. So I think right now it would be Hackenberg. Even though McCown's getting most of the first-team reps, McCown will probably start the first preseason game. But I want your prediction. Do you think it'll be Hackenberg, McCown, or Petty? Because, let's be honest, we've only had 4 days of practice. It could go either way. Petty could shoot up the depth chart and play amazing. In the preseason, Hackenberg could play great or terrible. McCown could play great or terrible. So it could all change. But, right now, if you had to guess, how this preseason is going to shake out, who's going to start out of that group of 3?
Well, I must say that coming into this year, I wanted Bryce Petty to make his mark coming into training camp, but I guess he's not really doing too good or impressing anybody too much. So other than that, I can say if it's close, you might as well just go ahead and start the young guy and get him progress and let him see what he can do, at least in a live game preseason. That would be a testament to see what he can do. But honestly, if it comes down to old guy versus young guy, I take a young guy and let him progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we're doing with the team right now. Let's talk about Todd Bowles. We talked about this with Darryl Slater. That happened hours ago, but when you're hearing this, it was about 30 minutes ago. We talked about
why'd you reveal our secrets, Kyle?
Oh crap! Forgot. My bad. Let's just stop recording. So we're gonna restart the call. No, but
end it.
Just end it. Send it.
You said that very seriously.
Yeah. Were you happy with your own performance here, Jaden? But crap, now I'm messed up. We were talking about Todd Bowles possibly getting fired, after this year, and we both made, I think all 3 of us made the argument it would be a little unfair because of the talent. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's a little unnecessary. There's a little questionable calls in the past years, but given the fact that we've not really been too good, we've had, it's been a while, so I don't know. Hopefully he just doesn't do anything stupid, and then that would affect his leash.
Yeah. Hey, we haven't been good since '69, and you could celebrate that with our '69 T-shirt available at theloyalist.com/thejettake.
Plug.
So yeah. Did we lose him?
No, he's still there. Jaden, you still there, man?
Mhm.
All right, sweet. Well, Jaden, we have plenty of guys on the phone lines, so we're going to have to let you go. But really quickly, give out your Instagram, your Twitter. Where can our listeners follow you and stay in touch? Because you have some tremendous takes. So what's your social media?
Absolutely. D'Angelo Jaden. Go ahead and follow me, DM me. I'm always open to talk about Jets football. Love football as a whole.
All right, well, we will make sure to tweet that out. Jaden, thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Our pleasure.
All right, well, that was Jaden.
Full end it.
Yes, all right, that was Jay. We're going to keep moving ahead with these phone lines. The next on the line is Hakeem, one of our favorite callers. Hakeem, man, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys? How you doing?
Well, we're good. We're good. How about yourself?
Doing good. Just got home from work. Excited to talk Jet football, with training camp in full go. It's just an exciting time to be a Jet fan.
No, it for sure is. I mean, we've been talking for
debatable,
weeks.
But yeah.
Well, hey, Kyle, the off season is the best time of the year to be a Jets fan, and we've been talking about weeks, about basically nothing. Now we actually have content to talk about. We've started, every caller we've had on the show with the quarterbacks. I guess we'll keep that, trend going. Hakeem, let's talk a bit about the quarterbacks, then we can move on to different topics. But what do you think about the quarterback's performance so far? I don't know how much you've kept up on the Twitter camp updates, but right now it's Petty's in third. McCown and Hackenberg are pretty much tied for first. One are, edging out the other, but McCown's been getting most of the first team reps. So, what are your thoughts on this quarterback situation?
I think it's turning out to be a nice little competition. I mean, Bryce Petty is out of the equation. So, I mean, I don't even consider him to have a complete shot.
Don't even tell me that.
It's, between Christian Hackenberg and Josh McCown. And Christian Hackenberg is showing a lot of, progress in his game. You can definitely tell he's worked all off season. But I think even the more time in training camp, that they give him to get these reps, he's just going to keep getting better, understand defenses. I'm sure the Jets, just loved his freshman tape from Penn State that year. And, now it's exciting to see, some of those things that they maybe projected for him to do. Because, his footwork is much improved. He's driving the ball a lot better. And he's got a cannon, And even, Morris Claiborne was a little impressed when, the DB, the reporters were asking him questions on Hackenberg from his vantage point. So it's just an exciting time to be a Jet fan. I mean, but I think that Josh McCown's going to end up starting the year. And, he's going to be given the first 4 weeks or so to see if we can get on a winning streak, try to see if we can get some things going. But I think they'll be quick to pull him, unlike last year. And I think they'll give Hackenberg definitely a shot, early on in the season. I'm thinking, by week 4 or 5. And I think then really, move the whole offense around Hackenberg and his skill set. But I don't think Bryce Petty's even in the equation.
All right, no, I'm hopping in on this one. Hakeem, I love you, buddy.
Oh, no. You touched a nerve.
Yeah, you hit a nerve. I was made in a lab. I only have about 3 of them, and you hit one of them somehow. I do have thin skin, though. So, I mean, I guess
plenty more than 3 nerves, Kyle. Kyle, you have about, 4 million.
It's a joke, Ben. It's a joke. But anyway,
made in a lab.
Okay. Guys, I'm aware Kyle wasn't actually made in a lab. Okay. Yeah.
No, Jaden Snapchatted me. He's like, that Ben saying you're made in the lab has me dead. I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of true. But
no, I was saying because Kyle has the thinnest skin I've ever seen. But anyways, Kyle, continue.
Are you the first person to say that, or are you just picking that up from somebody else?
I think I might have picked that up from somebody else. But anyways, Kyle, continue with your takes.
Just because he's not getting the reps, at training camp, doesn't necessarily mean he's completely out of this. So watch him go into preseason
last year
and be the second best quarterback, and maybe get more reps. It's a week by week, brick by brick. It's clearly biased. It was the same thing last year. They didn't give him a chance. They're not giving him a chance now. The whole Josh McCown move just still doesn't make sense. Why are we making this McCown town? Why are we paying him $6 million to come in and take away reps from a quarterback who has shown us things on the fields and we can work with? So why take away reps from him and give it to Josh McCown unless they just have absolutely no faith in these young quarterbacks whatsoever? And the only reason they're even giving Hack these reps is because he's a second-round pick and they're going to face some media trouble if they don't. So, It sounds like McCown's going to start to me, but don't count out Petty as like completely out of this. I would not be surprised by the end of the preseason if Hack's still struggling, which I do think he will, and Petty's, not phenomenal, not good, not average, but better than Hackenberg. He'll be getting those number 2 reps.
We also have to remember last year Petty was not getting many reps.
Because there were two much better quarterbacks in front of him.
Too much better. Yeah, I know. There was only so many reps to go around, and they had to split it between 4. You have your starter, you have your definite backup, you have your second-round draft pick. Petty was kind of the odd man out last year, but I will say, in the preseason, he turned it on. That second game against the Redskins, I believe, is that where he really showed some promise.
Yep. He's got to hit those deep balls, man. If he hits those deep balls, he's like him and Robbie Anderson are dangerous.
I don't think deep balls are his problem. I think it's more the intermediate problems. I think he also struggles with and you're right, Kyle. We have not seen him with a clean pocket. We'll see him in preseason. I wonder if the Jets. It doesn't sound like they'll do this based off the reps. It sounds like it's more of a 2-man competition, but I would wonder if the Jets would give 3 guys. I bet you they will do that. I bet you all 3 quarterbacks will at least start 1 preseason game. I think Petty will start the 4th preseason game maybe. But, I think the first one will probably go McCown. Second will go Hackenberg. Third will be between Hackenberg or McCown. I'll say Hackenberg, and then the 4th one will be Petty or something. And, we'll see how it goes. Moving on, before we go to our next caller, Hakeem, let's keep talking about this offense here. The wide receiver position is definitely one to keep an eye out on. I mean, it's a position that a lot of Jets fans are excited for. Even with the release of Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, there's a lot of talent, a young talent. 2 draft picks, and Ardarius Stewart and Chad Hansen, 2 guys that really flashed last year that are very young, Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa. You have, another late-round draft pick that played well in Jerome Peak. You have Lucky Whitehead, who we brought in, who's a terrific return man and shows some speed. And then you have some undrafted guys and, some veterans and whatnot, through Chris Harper, Jalen Marshall, Marquise Wilson, Gabe Marks, whatever. How many receivers do you see the Jets keeping, and who are they going to be? Because this is a position that's going to be big for this offense, the West Coast offense, young quarterback. You're going to want the best 7, 6, 5 guys, however many you keep. I personally think the Jets will keep between 6 or 7. I could easily see 7. Who do you think they'll be?
Yeah, I would agree. I think 6 or 7 is definitely the good one, because it's such a competitive position and it's completely wide open. But, of course, you have your locks in Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, Chad Hansen, or Darius Stewart, and that's, 4 right there. I do think Jerome Peak makes it because I think he has some special teams versatility as a gunner. And I think Lucky Whitehead is their most experienced return man they have, and he might actually be one of the fastest players on the team as well. And that's really saying something with all the youth and talent and athleticism we have out there. So I think that's, he's number 6. And I think number 7 is, up for grabs. Who's it going to be, Jalen Marshall or Chris Harper? There's all these great, new players. It's just exciting time for the wide receiver position. But I do think Jalen Marshall is, going to be on this team until basically he serves his suspension. And then they'll have more flexibility after week 4 to decide, what they want to do with him. But I think those are the 6, and there's just the receiving core is just stacked right now, and I just love that every player is getting after it, rep after rep, and they're all giving their best out there, and it's really really great for the cornerback for getting to cover them because every play is like a game day play. And Morris Claiborne was saying that himself in one of his interviews that all these players are getting after it so hard and so intensely that it feels like it's game day. So I just think it's just such an exciting position. What do you guys think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my personal prediction, then we'll go to Kyle. Obviously the 4 that are definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, but, most likely, barring any surprises, Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, Ardarius Stewart, Chad Hansen. Those are going to be your 4. Barring injuries, those are your guys. I also think they'll keep Lucky Whitehead for his return abilities, and I also like his, speed. He's young. I think he'll make the team. The only way I can see him not making the team is one, another guy on this team shows some return abilities that's, better, maybe another guy runs one back, and or Lucky Whitehead, fumbles a punt, fumbles a kickoff, has, some issues there. But I think those are your 5, and then I think the Jets will keep Jerome Peak. I like his size and his build. And then I could also see the 7th one. If I had to make a estimate right now, I'd probably say Harper, since he's been playing the best. But, it could easily be Gabe Marks. It could be Wilson. It could be Fox. It could be Hammond. It could be anybody. And then, after 4 weeks when Jalen Marshall's, off of suspension, depending on how his offseason was, Todd Bowles can make the decision, do we want to bring Jalen Marshall back? Is kind of a 4-week tryout for whoever that 7th receiver is. Right now it's Harper. So kind of a 4-week tryout. Is Harper better than Marshall? Are they both bad? Whatever that the case may be. Kyle, your take on how many wide receivers the Jets will keep?
Well, let's go down the list because I'm stupid sometimes. I was made in a lab, so the brain's not fully developed yet. Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, Ardarius Stewart, Chad Hansen. So there's 5. That's a lock. I almost said 4. Wow.
That's 4.
Yeah.
That's 4.
What?
That was 4 you just listed. Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, Chad Hansen.
Oh, okay. I'm not stupid. I had 4 fingers.
No, you are stupid. You said 5.
No,
okay.
like my original thought.
Okay. Keep it going. Who's the 5th?
He's thinking KD Buchanan is still available.
Yeah, Kyle's 53-man roster was wrong within maybe 30
Hakeem,
hours.
you're not making me happy today, buddy. The Bryce Petty thing, the KD Cannon thing, sounds like you're taking shots. I think you're a double agent right now. Okay, so then Lucky Whitehead. That's a reference to something, but you don't understand. 5 players, Lucky Whitehead, and then 6. Jalen Marshall doesn't count against the roster, but I'll just go ahead based off who's been making plays right now. I'll just have to say no
Chris Jerome Peak.
Yeah, no Jerome Peak.
Has Jerome Peak shown me anything?
I think he showed some stuff last year. I think he played well. He had some moments in that Buffalo game. He had the heads-up game.
All right, Buffalo game like nobody played.
Okay, he had some sporadic moments. He has some good size. Anyways, Hakeem, really quickly, last question for you, man. What's one surprise that you think will transpire over the course of this training camp? Whether that's a surprise cut, a surprise guy who makes the team. Maybe it's that Bryce Petty's going to start week 1. Just one, surprise prediction. By the time training camp ends?
I think what we're going to do that might surprise some people is with our outside linebackers, I think we're going to rotate them. I don't think there's going to be a clear-cut starter week to week. I think we're just going to rotate them like running backs and see which one gets hot and then just keep them going. So I think they're going to go with whoever's hot, who's got the hot hand getting pressure on the quarterback, as well as stuff in the run, and that's who we're going to play. Hopefully one of these guys just takes and claims the job after, a couple of weeks. I'm really excited for, Jordan Jenkins, Dylan Donahue, even Lorenzo Malden is looking pretty solid. And, of course, Josh Martin stepping up. So it's just an exciting position to view. So I think that'll be our real surprise. And, Kyle, as far as Sharon Leak, you're looking at a 3rd-round prospect with injury concern that fell to the 7th.
Yeah,
and that just proved to
he
stay
was in my
healthy
top 100
for a whole year.
I do want to clarify.
So what do you mean he hasn't shown you anything? Because it's his rookie year, and he's stuffed down a wide receiver depth chart, and he's playing special teams, he's playing good. So he definitely deserves to be on the roster. So Kyle is messing his roster up, man.
From what I've heard from training camp is he has struggled with drops, and I can't have you dropping the ball. If there is somebody outperforming you, I don't care what I had you on my big board. I don't care if you recovered a fumble for a touchdown. I don't care if you run some nice routes. I don't care if you have a big body. If you drop the ball, you're not going to be on my team. That's just my decision. And that's based off what I've heard over these past couple of days of training camp. Obviously, things could change, but as of right now, I've been hearing better things about Chris Harper in training camp making plays than I've heard Sharon Peak. I've only heard negative things about Sharon Peak, and that's not good with wide receivers. I'm okay with it with quarterbacks because they make mistakes, but the truly the biggest mistake a wide receiver can make is dropping the ball.
Yeah. We can't base everything off of 4 practices. We'll see in the preseason.
Yeah,
Hakeem,
we don't even
thank
know
you so much. Hakeem, thank you so much, man. Really quickly, shout out your social media. Where can our listeners follow you?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Love talking to you guys about Jet football. You can follow me on Twitter at Hakeem Amir. Thanks for having me on. You guys have one of the best Jet podcasts on the market, so great job. All right, thank you. Take care.
Hey, thank you, Hakeem. That means a lot. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to hearing from you shortly. All right, we're going to keep moving with the phone lines. We're going to keep going. We got Kyle Smith here, formerly from AFC East Bros, one of our favorite callers. Doesn't grace us with his presence too often, but we're fortunate.
Can we
fortunate enough to hear him.
Can we just ask a couple questions about the show?
No, Kyle.
Kyle
Smith.
I'm depressed about it. I am.
All right. Well, for this call to remain, to keep all confusion at bay, Kyle Fahey, I'm going to just call you Fahey, and Kyle Smith, I'm going to call you Kyle.
Yeah, that's
so we got Kyle and we got Fahey.
Fahey, I don't think I announced that publicly yet, but I will soon.
We'll remove that then if you want us.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Oh.
All right.
I thought that was announced publicly.
When?
It's whatever. When? We'll move on.
You're telling Rockpile Report stuff before you're telling me?
All right.
All right. I don't even know how the Rockpile Report found out because
probably Gary.
I don't know. I didn't tell.
Gary's a snitch.
But anyway, regardless. All right,
anyway,
so,
let's talk some Jets football.
You guys are talking about Jerome Peak. I guess I'm going to take the Fahey argument on this. Ben, you keep talking. Jerome Peak is big. He doesn't play big. Ben.
Hold on. Kyle Smith, hold on here. My prediction is I just think he's going to make the team. I'm not saying I like his size. I like some of his athleticism. We've had 4 practices. Has he dropped a few balls? Yeah. But let's be honest here. What really counts is what he shows under the lights on preseason. That's when we're going to see it. Those first 3 games, that's when we're going to, and probably 4th game, that's when we'll see it. My prediction right now is I think he'll make the roster. I like his size. Yeah. I agree with you. He's not your Brandon Marshall, physical, go over the middle type of guy, but he just makes some tough catches. I know because you watch a lot of film. That Jets-Bills game, he caught that ball over the middle and took a shot and basically did a somersault over the guy and hung on to the ball. I know he's not the most physical guy. That's probably why he fell a bit. But I like his size. I like his athleticism, and I think he'll make the team. The Jets don't have many receivers like him size-wise. If you look around, Nunwa isn't as tall as him, but he obviously plays bigger, so he's our number one. Anderson's like a toothpick. Anderson and Hanson's more of that bigger bodied guy. Stewart's the smaller, scrappier, but very physical receiver. So I like Peak. I like what he brings to the offense, and I think he'll make it. That's my prediction. But you're right. I mean, look, we have a very small sample size.
If I can rebut, you cut me off at mid-sentence, so let me respond to that.
To quote Gary Smith, it's our show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is beautiful, Ben. Oh.
That was never rude, though.
That's a good point. All right, Kyle, I will give you the mic.
Okay, now listen. You say he made tough catches. Could you name me 3 tough catches that he made? Now, what you might say is, hold on, he played very limited reps. Okay, but I could point out to you at least 3 drops, easy drops that he had last year, despite the fact that he played limited reps. So don't give me he makes tough catches. No, he makes easy drops more so than he makes tough catches. You want to talk about big body? It doesn't matter what size your body is if you don't know how to use it. And we've all been there. We've all played rec sports, Ben. I know you would play football if your parents let you. Now, you're not a big guy, Ben, but I think
Whoa. Some personal shots here.
Listen to me.
Me and Robbie Anderson share the same build.
But hear me out. I think you're of the opinion if you did play, despite the fact that you're not an enormous guy, you could still be good. Because you would believe, hey, listen, I'm small, but I pack a fierce punch, right? Julian Edelman is not a big guy, but he packs a freaking punch. He knows how to play. Darius Stewart, you can put him in that box. Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry's 5'11", like a little over 200 pounds. That dude was trucking Muhammad Wilkerson into the end zone. Listen, Jerome Peak might have some size to him. He doesn't play that way. And if you don't play that way, you might as well not be that size. That's all I got to say about him. He hasn't impressed me at all. And to hear that he's struggling in practice isn't a surprise at all to me. Now, let me shift gears for a moment. Okay, well, Fahey, I guess you
Well,
want to
hold on. I have one short rebuttal.
Ben,
first,
you want to talk to me. So
hold on. Give me 30 seconds to rebut that. First, on the drops, look, he was a rookie last year. You look at Quincy Enunwa for his first 2 years, although Enunwa made some great plays in 2015, he struggled with drops. And now, look at 2016, he was probably the most safe-handed.
For the record.
2016, he was probably the most safe-handed guy on the team. Look, I'll say that. So the drops can be corrected. He was a rookie last year. And as far as the size, that's also another thing that could change. I don't think he's going to wake up tomorrow and play like Steve Smith. No. But I do think he has other abilities. Not every receiver is that that big physical guy that can push box guys out. I'm just saying we'll see another year in the NFL. That's just my prediction. Faye, you can give your take, and then Kyle. I know Kyle you wanted to switch gears. So Faye, the mic is yours.
I think I gave my take on this. I think I made my take fair. Right?
All right. Well, then let's move on from Pete then. And I mean, listen, you don't really just become.
Kyle just became the host in like 30 seconds. How are you going to let that happen?
Put me on the floor.
Listen, another thing they say about Pete, and this is the last thing I'll say about him, is one of the reasons why he was in people's top 30s in the draft board is because he has this great long speed. I'm sorry. Sharon Peake, he might run a good 40, but he doesn't play that fast on the field. When did you ever see him toast a guy on a 9 route ever last year? I didn't see that.
I don't know. He burned past Bobby Wagner to recover that fumble for a touchdown. That was pretty impressive.
Please, you can't even make that argument. And Bobby Wagner's a linebacker anyway. Well, that's
one
why
of the best.
Kyle Fahey. That's why you're Kyle Fahey.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Made in a lab.
We got to make a soundbite.
I'm already working it.
Kyle, I know you want to switch topics from Sharon Peake. Is there any direction you want to go, or do you want us to take the lead, or what? The floor is yours, Kyle.
Yeah, you guys probably aren't going to like me too much, and Jets PR probably isn't going to like me too much for this one.
Hold on. We're working with them now. We can't have you coming on and be like,
I'm kidding. All right, Kyle, it's fine. It's fine. Kyle, give your take.
Wait,
okay.
Say this is only your take and not our opinions.
You can say that if you want.
Give him the mic, Kyle.
Disclaimer.
Your guy's boy, Mr. Kelvin Beachum, came on the show, your most highly downloaded episode, right? Which is great.
Yeah,
it's great.
It smashed our.
But I think we need to have a lot of concern about that, because I was shooting the stuff with my pops and my brother at the dinner table tonight, and my pops actually called me today. He wants to go to Jets practice tomorrow. He's not a Jets fan; he's a Chiefs fan. So I said, let's go to practice tomorrow. So, he's talking about like what he wants to see and stuff, and then we brought up Beachum, and my father, he's not as knowledgeable about football as Gary or I. He's like, yeah, but that left tackle, he's only 6'3". And I said, yeah, that's a concern. I really don't have high expectations for Beachum. And then Gary's like, yeah, but he's also got really short arms. So I looked up the mock draftable, and for whatever reason, we don't have this combine measurables for his arms, which can't be long. But he's not even 6'3". He's 6'2". And I don't know of a single successful tackle in NFL history that was 6'2". When you think about all these defensive ends that got these super long, gangly arms, I can't think of a single tackle that's even successful at 6'3", for that matter. So, boy.
His arm length is 33 and 1/4. I don't know what that
33, and that's not long at all. But this is a concern, guys. Not only is he coming off the ACL, and that's another concern, too, is, you could think of like maybe a couple of running backs that came back from a knee surgery, maybe quarterbacks for sure. But how many good left tackles, or tackles for that matter, when you got to plant off that leg, have come back from a knee surgery and still been good? I can't really think of many. Think of Jake Long, for example. He had some knee issues. First overall pick for the Miami Dolphins. Injuries derailed that guy's career. I just can't think of any. I don't know if you guys can. So I am concerned.
I can.
Kelvin Beachum. Okay, go ahead.
2014 Kelvin Beachum, 97.5 pass blocking grade.
Well, Kyle.
But that's the year before he tore his ACL.
Kyle, I will say this. I want to say this really quickly. Can I make the argument that I don't think arm length makes all the difference in the world? Joe Thomas has shorter arms, just to make that clear. I don't know how he compares to Kelvin. Yes, he's the exception. There's a few other ones.
Oh yeah, just
my other point to that is Ryan Clady, the Jets offensive tackle last year, had like one of the longest arms in the league at like 36 and a half or something crazy. I mean, I understand arm length gives the offensive tackle or defensive tackle or whatever an advantage, but I don't think it's the defining trait of Kelvin Beachum. He put up some solid stats. I think your point about the knee surgery is probably more important to think about. Offensive linemen who come back from surgery. I'm sure there have been offensive. If I were to sit here and like any 12-year-olds with a smartphone and look up, they had best offensive linemen that have come back from yeah, that was a shot at you, Kyle. Best offensive linemen that have come back from knee injuries or whatever. I bet you I could find a list or something. But I will say this: talking to Kelvin, of course, he's not going to trash himself. He says he feels like he's back, where he was towards his peak, towards 2015, 2014. He feels around that area. Obviously he's not going to say I feel terrible.
If his peak is Jerome and it's not that high, I'll tell you that.
That's a low mountaintop. But I actually like the Kelvin Beachum thing. I think he'll perform better than Ryan Clady. And Kyle, please stop singing. I think he'll perform better than Ryan Clady. That's a low bar to clear, but I'm not as worried about Kelvin Beachum. Maybe it's just because I'm biased. I like the guy. I believe him when he says he feels 100%. So we'll see how he does. Kyle, call back in like the middle of the season, and we'll see how he's been doing then.
I'll certainly do that because I'll be breaking down all the film, and having played offensive left tackle myself, I know a thing or two about the position. So I'll definitely call back and give you my opinion on that.
Aren't you a state championship winner?
What'd you say?
Aren't you a state championship winner? Didn't you guys win state championship?
They lost.
We played in the state finals, but we lost.
Oh,
we don't accept losers on the show. Sorry, we're going to have to
Bye, Kyle.
Yeah. No, but if
then you guys just need to end the show right now.
We have to look across the. I guess Kyle and I are
look
both
in the mirror
well.
sometimes. We gotta look in the mirror.
Hey
sometimes.
Ben, I'd be remiss before I left if I didn't talk about your boy Hackenberg, who
that's where I was going. I know you have a few. I know you're on a very strict schedule, Kyle. But I know you have a few more minutes here. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. That's the topic that sells. Kyle, again, I'll give you the mic. I'll let you lead this conversation where you want to go with this, and then I'll retort, and you and Fahey can gang up on me.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a strict schedule, but boys, I've been out of the house all day, and I really haven't seen my wife today. So
we're not more important than your wife, Kyle.
Yeah, we feel offended by that. Come
You're
on.
important, but come on. Do you even need to ask that question?
Who's more important?
Okay.
Who's more important, me or Ben?
Buy me a ring.
I'm not answering that question.
It's Fahey.
I love you both equally.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My
now
parents
listen to
are
me.
the same.
Okay. So we're hearing all this praise from Hackenberg, and if you go on Twitter, do a Twitter search right now, if you typed in Hackenberg, you would see a bunch of positive tweets. Manish would be one of the first ones that pops up. Christian Hackenberg has been the best of the Jets' 3 quarterbacks, and that might be true.
It's a low bar.
You'll see people saying things like, "Oh, Christian Hackenberg's doing good. Tell me I didn't think otherwise." Like people being cocky because a guy has shown off some arm strength in practice. I'm sorry. I've probably been one of the biggest Christian Hackenberg detractors there is, but I never once doubted the kid's arm strength. I don't think he's got an elite arm, but he's got a good arm. There's a reason why he was a second-round pick. But here's the thing, boys.
Because
right
he was
now,
reached for.
He's throwing against air right now. Sheldon Richardson can't hit him. Leonard Williams can't hit him. But one of Christian Hackenberg's biggest things is his mechanics break down when he's around pressure. Go to draftbreakdown.com, watch any one of those 21 videos that they got him up there. Not once did he show good pocket presence, the ability to slide up and climb the pocket when you got edge rushers coming, the ability to slide to the right when somebody's coming to your left. And if you ever heard of Zach Robinson, former Oklahoma State quarterback, works for Pro Football Focus now. He played all around the league. It wasn't super athletic, but he was a really heady guy. He was talking to Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus once, and he was saying, listen, one thing that you really can't teach for the quarterback is pocket awareness. It's just kind of an innate thing that guys just have or they don't have. So, yeah, you can maybe improve his footwork a little bit, but when crap hits the fan and stuff starts breaking down, is he going to regress and revert back to that terrible footwork, which is going to lead to him being incredibly inaccurate as we've known him to be? Ben, I'm sorry. Your article got a lot of buzz, and I read it, and thank you for writing it. I think it was good writing. I'll give you that for sure. But your piece on Hackenberg, man, come on.
Hey, I had to create some buzz there. Well, here's my retort to that.
Are you saying
as far as no, I'm kidding. I think that was more of the last point on Christian Hackenberg was more about, hey, look, if the Jets can put together at least a solid quarterback, play from whether that's Bryce Petty, Christian Hackenberg. I personally chose Hackenberg. I think this team has a lot of talent on the defensive side of the football and has some, talent on the offensive. We'll just put it together. Anyways, my retort to that, Kyle, I'll say this. One, as far as the whole footwork, the guy either has it or he doesn't. I remember week 1 after Mark Sanchez's first game, the guys for the CBS booth were comparing him to Dan Marino, the way he slid up the pocket and avoided the pressure. I'll say this. Look, Christian Hackenberg, he's a rookie. I mean, I don't really count. I mean, obviously he learned some stuff last year, but he's essentially a redshirt freshman this year. I still think he's room to grow. The one thing that stood out to me, I mean, you're right. I mean, his pocket presence is still a little weak, but I'd rather have him. He's taken a few, quote-unquote sacks this season. Obviously you can't hit him, but then he's still been able to deliver the ball, and it's been good. I'll say this, though. I'd rather have him holding onto the ball than forcing the ball and causing an interception. I think that's probably one of the bigger growths we've seen is he has not thrown an interception in team drills. Take that as you may. You're right. He has not really developed against the live rush.
No, that's 7 on 7, not 11 on 11. So that's a very...
No. It's the other way around. He threw interceptions in 7 on 7 and individuals. But in 11 on 11 team drills...
Do I have that backwards?
You have it backwards. In 11 on 11 team drills, he has not thrown an interception. Now, you can take that as you may. You're right. He doesn't have a live rush or anything. But I just think, I think he's maturing to the point where, he's holding onto the ball. We'll see if he throws it away. He's thrown it away a few times in camp. But you're right. I mean, he has to work on that. Is that something he can develop? Who knows? He's a young quarterback.
It's
can't
almost
say
never been done, Ben.
That's such a blanket statement to say that no quarterback has ever come into the league with
Christian Hackenberg's the wet blanket of quarterbacks in the NFL. The dude is nothing.
Weird visual.
He has arm strength, and he's smart at the line. His mechanics are poor.
He has great arms. Kyle, I'll say this.
His velocity's Ben. His velocity's like 53.
Ben,
it's a little bit above average.
It's 56, that's pretty good. Like people like let's see, Joe Flacco was like 55, for example. Russell Wilson's 55.
He has some great arm talent.
56 is a fine number, but Ben, listen, go back to his freshman year, right? That was when he was really good at Penn State. Go back and watch the tape on his freshman year. Listen to me. He underthrew Allen Robinson so many times it wasn't funny, but it still went down as a good pass in the stat sheet because Allen Robinson was a freak and was Brandon Marshalling, bailing him out just like Brandon Marshall did to Fitz a couple of years ago. Listen, he underthrows people on deep balls all the time. So,
I will admit, I've seen that a few times in practice. But look at this. This is all I'm saying, Kyle. I think that, with the West Coast offense, you would look at it and say, well, that doesn't fit his skill set. I think he'll do well. I think the game will, as the season goes on, I think he'll play at least, somewhat, solid. I'll say that. I don't think he's going to be as terrible as people think. But I think he will perform better than any other quarterback on that roster. Time will tell if that is good enough to stick around for 2018. Kyle Smith and Kyle Fahey, I want to get your takes really quickly. I know you have to go, Kyle. If Hackenberg starts week 1 and starts all 16 games, what type of stat – I know we were talking about this in the group chat, but I want to get it on the air. What type of stat prediction could you see for him? I'll start with you, Kyle Smith, first.
I can't see him starting 16 games. I just can't. I don't think he's going to be that good to hold down the job for 16 games.
Yeah.
In the unlikely event that Bulls just gives him 16 games to see what he's worth, they don't think Petty's worth it.
Bulls should be fired if that happens.
Okay, I'm just saying, theoretically, if he plays 16 games, what would his stats look like? I'm not saying, just 16 games of Christian Hackenberg would look like.
I feel like if it had to happen, McCown's going to have to be hurt, so therefore they're going to stay with him, and Petty's terrible, so I'd rather have Hackenberg than Petty. But what would his stats be? I don't know, something like maybe 12 touchdowns to 18 interceptions, 56 completion percentage, 6.7 yards per attempt. It's not going to be pretty. I really don't think so. And it's not all his fault. He's not exactly working with a seasoned receiver core. Like, I know we have some young talent on there, but come on, compare our receiver core to many others throughout the league, and it's night and day. And is our offensive line is okay, but Wesley Johnson, Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, Kyle, do you side with Fahey on the point that the Jets are stunting the growth of the rest of the team by starting Hackenberg? Do you think that they should theoretically start McCown to grow their young wide receivers, their offensive line, their and whatnot, or do you think they should that Hackenberg won't be too detrimental to their wide receivers?
I think if you want to be a good football team and you want to instill across the organization that you're there to win games, and that's ultimately what builds confidence in young players, and that's ultimately what develops players, you start the best person there, whether that's McCown or whether that's Hackenberg. And I know that the reports from practice have been mixed, but I always thought that McCown is better than Hackenberg, at least at this point in time. Not as talented in terms of the arm strength, but listen, McCown's got a lot of veteran experience that just Hackenberg doesn't have at this point. And Hackenberg's just not that good to override the other stuff. So, again, I gave the stats. I don't think it will be that good. And I do think that we will be in prime position to pick a quarterback next year. And we just got to hope and pray that these quarterbacks are as good as everybody's saying that they are right now. Time will tell if that's the case next year. And I'm sorry to be the Debbie Downer, but that's what you're going to get with me. I'm giving you my honest take.
I'll say this. I mean, we'll find out August 12th and the entire preseason where we get to watch these guys. But really quickly, again, I know I'm asking one more question, but would you rather be in that position where they're picking number one and have the opportunity at the quarterback, or would you rather be in a position where that's in a situation they go 2-14 or whatever, or would you rather be in the position where they're picking 15, 16, they went 7-9? Because my point of view, I know what you're going to say, and I will. Well, I'll let you argue because I know you have to go, and then I can argue it once you get off, or if you have time to stick around. But give your take first.
Ben, of course, you go 2-14 and get the number one overall pick. Listen,
Yep.
Ben, you are completely wrong because here's the thing. Look at the Jets over recent years. They've had we picked at pick 16 when we took Copels a couple years ago, 8-8. We went 8-8 a couple years before that.
But those are different teams, Kyle. They aren't young teams.
But Ben, picking these middle of the first round picks, what has it got us? Calvin Pryor, Darren Lee. I'm sorry, these guys aren't game changers. But what about the Colts? They had one bad year, 2-14. You get a franchise guy, and Andrew Luck changes the entire tenure of your franchise. Look at the Titans, man. We could have tanked. We should have lost to that damn team at the end of the 2014 season. But no, Geno had to go down there and beat them. Rex Ryan had to go down there and beat them. Well, guess what? They got Marcus Mariota. What do we got? The Tampa Bay Bucks. They made it well known to people. They benched people in the second half of that game because they were told from higher-ups, tank. We need to get the number one overall pick. They got Jameis Winston. I'm sorry. Compare Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Andrew Luck to the quarterbacks that we have. Listen, it's the most valuable position in all of sports. I will take one of those quarterbacks versus taking a Calvin Pryor or a Darren Lee and just to say, oh, I had an 8-8 record this season. My team was bad than yours. So what? I'm never going to go to my friends and brag to them, oh, we were 8-8 this year. We were better than your team that was 5-11. Who gives a crap? 8-8 sucks still. But if you give me that franchise quarterback.
I think Gary Smith did.
Yeah, that's
true. That's Gary. That's Gary. That's not me. I don't care if I'm 8-8. I don't care if I'm 9-7 not making the playoffs. I care if I got a legit guy that can help me make a playoff push, a deep playoff push every year. And the teams that are making those deep playoff pushes, they're not doing it with bottom 10 quarterbacks. I'll tell you that. So you guys can debate as I drop the mic and get out of here.
Well, you can listen to our response when we post this later tonight. You can hear the retort, and Kyle and I will go back and forth on this. But anyways, Kyle, really quickly give out your social media so our listeners can give you a follow.
At AFC East Bros on Twitter, and that's the only place where you should try to find me on social media. Take care, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, please call again soon, Kyle. Grace us with your presence again.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be at practice, so I'll give you my take on practice one of these future days.
We'll be texting you.
Okay. Kyle, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Yeah. All right, that was Kyle Smith. Again, Kyle Fahey almost breaking the news on their podcast. All right, here's my response to that. And this I will plug my article. We posted it.
On what site though?
It's on NewYorkJetsFans.com. You can find it there. It's 6 reasons why the Jets will be better in 2017 than they will be in 2016.
I'll give you 13 reasons why, then.
Okay, 15 actually, because Brandon. No. Here's 6 reasons why.
I'm talking suicide.
Okay. I have to find the article for this. So hold on. Let me get to the article. Here it is. Okay. Look, to start back on that point and why the Jets fans should not be cheering for a tank. And look, I'll say this: if the Jets are in a situation in December where they're 2-12, then I'd probably be cheering for the losses at that point. But I'm talking more to those who are going into this season cheering that the Jets lose pretty much every game. And here's why you don't want to do that. Is first of all, to have the number 1 overall pick, it takes a lot more than having a bad quarterback to be in that position. And Kyle, I know you're going to have plenty of retorts, and I'll give you a chance to respond. But if the Jets have the number 1 pick, that means their defense is terrible. That means their defensive line did not play up to standards. That could either mean Wilkinson's not. No, hold on. I mean, you're right. Maybe not all these things are true, but the majority of these things would have to happen for the Jets to only win 2 games, especially when they play teams like the Browns and the Jags, and there are plenty of winnable games on the schedule. The Chargers. There are plenty of games where they could win, and not all these things are going to be true. But if the Jets were going to go 22-14, the majority of these things would have to happen. The defensive line would have to be, bad. Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson wouldn't play well. Maybe Leonard Williams doesn't. The new safeties are going to be looking bad. And, again, maybe they show some promise and they're one of the few bright spots. But, the offensive line's terrible. The quarterbacks are just god-awful. The receivers don't take the next step. Robbie Anderson isn't a number 2 wide receiver. Quincy Newman proves he can't be a number 1 wide receiver. The running game's bad. I mean, all facets of the game would have to be pretty much terrible, minus a few bright spots. Again, yes, could the Jets finish 2-14 and Jamal Adams looks good? Sure. But for the most part, most of your team's going to be terrible. So it takes a lot more than just having bad quarterback play to be the worst team in football. Now, yes, of course, would picking number 1 be a great, spot? Yes. But it's not always a guarantee. You look at Jared Goff last year with the Rams, or not last year, 2 years ago with the Rams. I remember Kyle Smith, I may say so myself, I remember hosting the episode with him on his show before we started this show, and he was a big Jared Goff fan. He loved Jared Goff. So I don't know, I'm just saying, and he was not as big on Wentz, and Wentz, has his own issues, but he's at least better than Goff is at this point in his career.
I was a Dak guy.
You were never a Dak guy. There's no proof. Okay, anyway. You were not.
The site is broken. I can't prove it to you.
You're not. You were never. You're such a hypocrite. Oh my God. You were never a Dak guy. Okay. Anyways, let's stand up. We'll come back to it. We've had that argument plenty of times. Sure. Show me some proof, Kyle, and then I'll give you. I have proof that I was an unaffected junior guy. All right. Well, then it never happened.
That's good for you.
All right. Anyways, to continue with the point, it's not always a guarantee, and who knows if the Jets would pick the right guy. Anyways, the point is, if they're picking number 1, they're a whole team away. Will they get their guy? Theoretically, maybe. There's 60% chance, that guy will be at least solid if the Jets do their job. However, if it still is Mike McCagnon, which it might likely be, are you going to trust him again after taking Christian Hackenberg? Maybe you have to bring in a new GM. Anyways, I'd rather be in a position where you have a young team, and this isn't 2013, 2014 where you're starting Clyde Gates and David Nelson at receiver. No, this is a young team full of a bunch of rookies, undrafted guys, first-round draft picks, second-round draft picks, a lot of young guys. There's a lot of young potential across the board. Not, necessarily highly touted, highly sought-after guys, but, not big-name guys, just, but they're young. They're all young. We don't have any really, bad veterans starting in this team. I mean, Steve McClendon is 31, and I think he's the oldest guy on the team, or besides Josh McCown. So I'd rather see a situation
I think McClendon's older.
No, McClendon's 31, and Josh McCown's like 38. You can look it up. Yeah, you can look that up. McCown's old.
McCown was like 31.
No, McCown's very old. Look, I'd rather be in a situation where the Jets start, Christian Hackenberg, and maybe he puts up what Kyle says, 12 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. Not great. That's, I'll say this. That's 2009 Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez accepted 2 more interceptions. So if he throws around the 12, 13 touchdowns, a little more interceptions, that's pretty bad. But then in that situation, if the Jets find a way to win 7 games, 8 games with that, then you look across the board. Hey, the defense actually played pretty well. Christian Hackenberg is pretty terrible, and he's a weak.
So then what are we going to do?
Hold on. We'll get there. But that means, hey, the defensive line played well. Leonard Williams is still continuing to grow. The corners looks better. Jamal Adams, again, not all of these things are true. I'm just saying, for them to win 7 games with Christian Hackenberg throwing 12 touchdowns and 18 interceptions, that defense has to play pretty well. The offensive line has to be solid. The weapons might develop. and the run game would have to look good. The tight end, not all those things are true. But, again, in both cases, the majority of those things would have to be true. If the Jets are going to win 7 games with Christian Hackenberg playing like that, I'd rather be in that position. I'd rather be the Jets are picking 15, 16 at 7-9, 8-8, whatever, and being a quarterback away, and, obviously it wouldn't just be a quarterback. We might have a few more pieces, but, more of a team, a lot of young talent guys to build on. You're excited about Adams and May and Williams and guys like Burris take the next step, whatever. I'd rather be in that position and having to possibly trade up. That I know that's costly on a franchise, but if you believe that you're a quarterback away and, again, and a few other pieces, then you trade up. Or maybe there's a guy, Kirk Cousins is available next year. I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins fan, but I do think if the Jets have a very talented team and Christian Hackenberg was that big of a weak link, then Kirk Cousins would theoretically
Kirk Cousins get us?
Take this team to the next level if they're winning 7 games.
For an average quarterback?
But my point is, if the Jets are winning 7 games with Christian Hackenberg, put in Kirk Cousins, and you can make all your opinions about him, but he would be better than Christian Hackenberg. Kirk Cousins thrown more than 12 touchdowns and less than 18 interceptions. Plug him in, maybe the Jets are now a playoff team. No, all I'm saying, that's my – or you trade up. Probably the trade up is the better option, more sexier option. But I'm going to root for my team. I'm going to root for the Jets. I'm going to root for the young guys to play well, have a good locker room chemistry. Hopefully Bowles, fixes his game management, mistakes. Hopefully guys take the next step. Just little wins like that, and the Jets maybe upset a few teams. Just play well, get to that 6, 7, 8 game ballpark. You're already better than you were last year with way less names. When people thought you were tanking, that means you have actual talent on this team. I know there's that anomaly in 2013 where the Jets won, but that's a different team. That team had veterans on it. This team has a lot of young guys on it. I just think if they do that, hey, you're a quarterback away. Again, maybe 3-4 pieces elsewhere to get into the playoffs. You go and get that quarterback. But I don't want to root for this team to go 1-15 and then maybe get a quarterback. And given the Jets, well, they might not knock that pick out of the park there. So I need to cheer for my team, and we'll let the chips fall their way. Kyle, I know Kyle Smith already gave his argument for this, but you can give your argument and why I am wrong.
Yeah, well, we're going to be worse than last year, record-wise. Harder schedule, worse players.
You can't say, Kyle.
I just did.
How are they worse players?
Ben,
how are they worse players? Kyle, how are they? I know.
I let you talk. I let you talk.
I will let you talk in a second, but please answer me this. Please answer me this.
Please shut up.
Hold
GQ,
on.
please shut up.
You can talk. I just want to know quick answer.
Okay.
How is this team better or worse than last year's?
All right, quarterback, wide receiver.
How's quarterback worse?
Ryan Fitzpatrick and Geno Smith are better.
Geno Smith played maybe 2 quarters of football last year.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is better than Bryce Petty, Josh McCown.
First of all, Petty and Hackenberg have had another year to develop. Okay, again, you're saying that they can't improve. Already Hackenberg looks light years. Already Hackenberg looks light years better than he did last year. And
so
Petty,
he's like the 31st quarterback in the NFL.
I'm not. Well, then last year he was a 38th. I'm just saying they both look better. And McCown and Hackenberg, McCown didn't start, or McCown versus Fitzpatrick. Yes, Fitzpatrick played more games, but you're also forgetting Fitzpatrick threw freaking 6 interceptions. McCown, started less games, but had a higher quarterback rating, or passer rating, excuse me.
Always hurt. Cody Kessler performed better.
Okay, anyways, go to wide receivers. Bigger names, yes, but you look at this.
Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker are better than Quincy Newell or Robbie Anderson.
Here's my point on this. Brandon Marshall was terrible last season, Kyle. Eric Decker didn't play. Eric Decker played 2.5 games.
Yep.
So look,
how many touchdowns did he catch in those 2.5 games?
No, he was good. But Kyle, you can't say, well, this guy, he kind of played. Kyle, you can't say that the Jets receivers were better last year when the guy played 2 games. It's the same thing with Geno Smith. He wasn't on.
He is a more talented.
The guy
would have to produce more.
The guy would have to play 50% or more of the games, and he didn't. Marshall was bad. I'm just saying this. It's not as high as a bar to clear for this. For a Newell who played light years better than any receiver on the Jets roster did last year. You can maybe chalk that up to being the number 2, 3 wide receiver, but he didn't have many plays run to him. I'll say this. It is a low bar to clear the Jets of 2 new rookies. I like another year of a new Anderson Peak, see how they perform, maybe another guy. I'm just saying, you're right. Right now, I'll concede this to you. On paper, will you say the 2016 receivers were better? For sure. But I'm just telling you, by the end of the year, I think it'll be the other way around. So continue going through, because we're better at safeties, undoubtedly. Light years better at safeties. Even with these guys not hitting the field, I think I could bet quite a bit of money that they're not going to be worse than Marcus Gilchrist and Calvin Pryor. The corners, you replaced a terrible Darrell Reeves last year with the Morris Claiborne, Justin
Who can't
Burris.
stay healthy. He can't play more than 7 games.
Justin Burris, Darryl Roberts, all have another year under their belt.
Unproven.
Yes, I'm proven, but I'll have another year. But you have to give me corners.
Late round picks,
Kyle,
guys,
you have to give me corners because
Ben,
look,
they're
Morris
free agents and late round picks for a reason. I know you have a lot of hope, and I know that's
Kyle,
great.
I'm just saying. Okay, ignore them.
Do you remember
them.
who our head
Kyle,
coach is?
Kyle,
ignore
that.
Kyle,
ignore. Kyle, you're not ignoring.
No,
the corner
I'm
position
not
changed pretty much nothing besides some backups. The only thing that changed is you subbed out Morris Claiborne for Darrell Reeves, Kyle. Morris Claiborne is a better corner than Darrell Reeves is right now. You can say his injury is concerned all you want, but right now he's fresh. He could play 16 games. He could play 3 games. We don't know, but right now at this moment in time, it's a clean slate. Morris Claiborne is a better corner than Darrell Reeves right now. That's undisputed. And besides that, the Jets didn't change anything to their corners. All that happened was the guys got better because they had another year. No, the guys that got better because they had another year. So you're already better at safety. You're already better at corner.
You're acting like Todd Bowles is some great guy who's going to be like
I never said Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles cancels out because he's the same coach. If anything, again, you could use the same argument. I'm just saying you could throw this out there, but I'm conceding you these points. But again, first of all, Todd Bowles just cancels out because he's the same coach. But again, Todd Bowles, another year of experience.
Last year.
Todd Bowles has another year of experience. Look, he's faced pretty much everything. He's faced good teams, bad teams, big games, winning streaks, losing streaks.
He has to face the biggest problem,
games in December, locker room issues, great locker. He's faced pretty much everything. If he gets down his clock management, if he gets down his locker room, I'm just saying he's faced everything. So you could argue that, experience gives him some wisdom. So maybe he'll be a better coach than he was.
Yeah,
you could go across the board, Kyle. Demario Davis statistically was better than David Harris was last year. Darren Lee, again, another year. But again, I'll concede the point. They cancel out. They're the same player. We won't even factor in the chance for improvement from a rookie to a second-year player. But Demario Davis, statistically a better linebacker than David Harris, Kyle. You can't just more tackles, more sacks.
Okay, he played for the
outside linebacker. Outside linebackers, nothing really changed. Again, we'll cancel it out, but again, you can make the same argument. Guys have another year of experience. All they really added was Dylan Donahue. I like that. And the other thing they added, Kevin Green, outside linebackers coach. I think that'll help with getting some rush to the passer. Defensive line, that's all pretty much cancels out. You can look at,
I like how I was supposed to talk this time.
I know, but you're saying blanket statement, they're worse than they were last year. But you go through the roster.
They are.
And I'm conceding you some of these points, saying, okay, well, this is unproven. This is a bit of a, unproven statement by me. So I'll concede you some of these points. But it's like a lot of the points are going my way, and then a lot of the points that going your way could easily change if you factor in guys that were rookies or 2-year players last year now have another year. You go offensive line. I can keep going.
Always
tight end. Austin Sperry-James has lost 33 pounds.
Let me
another draft pick. Tight ends factored in for the offense. I don't know. I'm just saying. Elijah McGuire added to the they've improved the team, Kyle.
That's false. You're acting
they
like all
lost big names, but they got better, younger players. All right, now you can talk. I'll put myself on mute for God knows how long you do. Say what would give me a code word for when I can come back on.
GQ.
Okay.
He's just gonna leave, by the way. He's not even gonna listen. We did not get better.
No, I'm still here.
He's acting as if all these players are going to develop, which isn't true. Most of these guys will not develop. Unfortunately, that's just facts in the NFL.
I conceded those points to you.
Did I say GQ? Did I say GQ? No.
I said I conceded those points to you.
Ben,
I'll put myself on mute.
Most of these guys will not develop. We do not have the coaches necessary unless it's at the running back or outside linebacker position. Those are the only coaches I truly trust. Quarterbacks got worse. Running backs got older. So Matt Forte, slower, more injury-prone. Bilal Powell, unproven. He had a really nice 4 or 5 games stretch. That's nice. I want to see him do it for 16 games. He hasn't shown us that. O-line, Kelvin Beachum, I like the guy. He's yet to prove anything to me. And Kyle's kind of got a point. I mean, he's coming off the injury, and I hope he does get better, but we don't know yet. It's the NFL, Ben. We don't know. Braden Show's not even getting first-team reps. For some reason, he might be injured. He just might not be good. He may have got lucky in those 3 games. We don't know. Or Todd Bowles is just a complete idiot, which leads me to the point that he can't develop players, and Casey Rogers is just his puppet, so it's going to be Todd Bowles developing these players. Like it or not, it is. We have a much harder schedule this year. We have unexperienced quarterbacks. If you're saying Christian Hackenberg is going to start, I just did.
You look at last year, there are teams that
did I say improved. GQ?
The NFL is a year-to-year league, Kyle. Go check out my article. I lay this all out, okay?
No.
6 reasons why the Jets will be better in 26. I'll tweet it back out again. What's to Kyle's chagrin?
No. Ben, you're just wrong about this, dude. But I'd rather go and get a quarterback than have a bad team because quarterbacks fixes and mask a lot of problems. Look at the Packers. That team, an exception to the offensive line, they have some good offensive linemen. I will give them that. That team is pretty talentless. Aaron Rodgers, good. Jordy Nelson, always hurt at the end of his career. Randall Cobb hasn't produced anything in years. Devontae Adams can't catch a ball when it matters the most. Defense, Clay Matthews towards the end of his career. I'm not sure if I can even name other guys. Nick Perry? Did Nick Perry resign with them? He's pretty decent. They got rid of their corners. Micah Hyde's gone. I think they replaced them with, who was it? Some dude from the draft, I think. Their safeties, Morgan Burnett, I mean, he's all right. I mean, he's a little bit above average.
I just zoned out for a second. Why are we talking about the Packers?
Because I'm saying how a quarterback can mask things.
That's like a fair point, but
the Packers are not a good team from top to bottom.
Yeah, but they also have the best quarterback in the league. They also have the best quarterback in the league, man.
All time, arguably. I know. But
all time? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think
Aaron Rodgers the best. Kyle, the dude has won 1 Super Bowl. And besides that, has done jack.
I just listed the team he's working with, and the coach.
That doesn't change. Oh
they
my
switch like
God!
Offensive coordinators every year, Ben.
You're showing your age, man. He's not even close to the best. I mean, look.
Aaron Rodgers is by far the best playmaker.
He's the best quarterback he's the best quarterback in the league right now. And if he wins a few more Super Bowls, you can give him the all-time, but you can't call him the GOAT.
Which he very well could.
Dude, oh my God. I mean, you're right. Maybe he could, but you would say. You wouldn't say. I'm trying to think of an example here that's even like close as towards basketball. I'm trying to think of like, wow, this is really. I'm trying to think of somebody versus Michael Jordan that didn't win as many rings, but is still
LeBron?
Like no. I mean, you could throw LeBron out there, but LeBron is okay. Fine, we'll do that. Well, no, because LeBron, you could actually make the argument because he's won multiple championships and he's taken teams. But whatever. Anyways, back to football. The point is Aaron Rodgers. We're getting off topic. We have one more call on the line. We got to get to him next. But the point is, Aaron Rodgers is not the best quarterback of all time. I'll concede you that he's the most talented. He's the most talented quarterback in the league right now. But you want to know why Dan Marino isn't? You want to know why Dan Marino isn't listed as one of the best? I mean, he's one of the best
because they never had a running game.
No, it's because they never won a Super Bowl, Kyle. Aaron Rodgers has
because they never had a running game. They knew he was going to throw it every time, Ben. Eventually, he gets predictable. It's like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I think you just made that up off the top of your head there, bro.
No, they never had a running game, Ben. That's why he didn't win a Super Bowl. Go look it up. They had great wide receivers.
No, I know they had great wide receivers. I know they had a good team. I'm just saying the reason that you can't blame it on all the right. You can blame it on the defense. Anyways,
Ben, when you have to throw it 50 times a game,
more about the defense.
He was one of the first players. I'm pretty sure he actually was the first player to ever do that. Like throw the ball 50 times a game.
Here's a good comparison.
He didn't have a running game.
Kyle, here's a good comparison. You can look at guys like Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees.
Yeah, great quarterbacks.
Great quarterbacks.
Some of the best of all time.
Terrific quarterbacks. Well, I don't know if I'd put Phillip Rivers in some of the best of all time.
Phillip Rivers isn't in Drew Brees tier, but he's definitely like a top 25.
They're some of the best quarterbacks, but you look at what they've been with, and they've been pretty terrible. But Kyle, if Drew Brees went on a dynasty with the Saints, you could maybe make that argument. Hey, he belongs in the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. Right now, though,
he's top 10. He's top 10.
Maybe top 10, but Kyle, I mean, you look at the list of quarterbacks.
How many consecutive
Montana, Marino. I don't know. I'm just saying he's up there, but Super Bowls take a quarterback from one level to the next level, and Aaron Rodgers.
I disagree. I don't think that's fair.
Aaron Rodgers could win that and become the best quarterback of all time.
To win a Super Bowl, you have to at least have more pieces than what Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees have been working with. I'm not saying you need a complete
So you're saying that Super Bowls don't move. Kyle, I don't think you can throw Aaron Rodgers into if you take the top 5 best quarterbacks of all time. How would you rank them? Kyle? And then we got to get to our caller right now. So
Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Joe Montana. Crap.
Cue him looking up quarterbacks.
No, I'm not typing.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Dan Marino. Yeah, he's probably number 4. And then number 5. I don't think Drew's up there yet. I think he needs a couple more yards.
You're missing 2 pretty good big guys right here.
I think it's got to be Peyton Manning. at 5.
You snubbed Elway there. Okay, here's what you go. Here's what I go with. Right now, I'd go Tom Brady. I'd go John Elway. I'd go Joe Montana. I'd go Dan Marino, and then I'd go Peyton Manning.
We're not that far off. I mean, we're not that different.
Yeah, and then but here's the thing: is Aaron Rodgers for me might be if you go most I'll say this: if you go most talented quarterbacks of all time, he would definitely be up there. But all time GOATs, he maybe cracks my top 10. But if he wins 2 more Super Bowls or 3 more Super Bowls, I would put him very towards the top. All right, we're gonna get to Ryan. We're gonna talk about the Jets. We can continue with this point. Ryan, how you doing, man? Thank you for staying on hold for so long. We apologize. Kyle and I got
sorry. We scream a lot.
No problem, guys. How are we doing tonight?
We're
sure
doing
Ryan
good.
fell asleep.
Yeah, we just woke Ryan up from a nap. Ryan, we're excited. We got training camp to talk about. Kyle and I always yelling at each other as always, so it's terrific.
It's bad for you, Ben. You got to remember that.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, Ryan, let's bring this back to the Jets. Actually, you know what? Very quickly, I want to get Ryan your top 5 quarterbacks of all time.
Okay. Well, first, before I name them, Kyle, there's no way you can say Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback of all time. Maybe you can say physically gifted quarterback. The number 1 most physically gifted quarterback. I'd agree with you there, but there's no way you can list Aaron Rodgers above Tom Brady or Joe Montana.
Look what he does on. I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter.
Look at what he does on a weekly basis. They're always in
Kyle,
the playoffs.
you weren't alive to and neither was I, but you didn't watch Joe Montana on a weekly basis. You can't just make that statement.
That's fair. I can't argue that. That's fair. I was trying to come up with something. But based on what I've seen, Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady. I know Tom Brady wins more Super Bowls. Also, Tom Brady's working with Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time. And Aaron Rodgers is working with Mike McCarthy. Mike freaking McCarthy. That's the best you can give that dude? Seriously? The guy can't decide who's calling plays every year. They give him no talent. I don't know how that GM still has a job. Ted, whatever his name is, he's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. He drafts dudes who aren't even in their scheme sometimes just because, they have a nice vertical. I mean, he honestly doesn't know what they're doing. And every week, Aaron Rodgers, clutch, RELAX. They're in a slump. He's in a slump. He comes right back, leads into the playoffs, wins the division. The Vikings were running away with that division last year. Granted, there were some injuries that definitely limited them, but Aaron Rodgers came back and stormed that team. So many Hail Mary clutch throws he's done against the Cowboys in the playoffs last year to get them in the field goal range with 3 seconds left on the clock to beat the Cowboys team.
Then blew a gasket the next week against the Falcons.
Well, the Falcons are a good team. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Telvin Coleman, that's much better than what Aaron Rodgers is working with. Aaron Rodgers got Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson's not even a top 10 receiver. I mean, he's working with an above-average receiver who's at the end of his career and, is always injured. Aaron Rodgers does it on a consistent basis, makes amazing plays, bails his team out. You can count how many Hail Marys he has. You can probably count 5 of them off the top of your head. The dude's just an amazing player. I've never seen a dude sling it so accurately, so clutch. He is just the best I've ever seen do it, and I've witnessed Tom Brady for a good portion of my life. Tom Brady's good at what he does. He's not Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady may have those rings. Tom Brady's working with Bill Belichick. At the end of the day, he's a master strategist, and I do think they have more talent. I just think Aaron Rodgers is the best done it. You're right. Maybe I didn't see Joe Montana play. Maybe if I did see Joe Montana play, it'd be a different story. But then again, it was kind of a different era, and he was also working with Bill Walsh. He had lots of guys on that team that are Hall of Fame caliber players. So I just think Aaron Rodgers is the best of all time.
Listen, I respect Kyle, but like I said, you could say definitely most physically gifted quarterback. But whether you like it or not, in any sport, the best people of all time, they're based on championships, and whether that's fair or not,
I don't think that's fair. I
don't make the rules, but that's how it's based off of. So, and listen, I like Aaron Rodgers, and I do think he's the best in the game right now. But to say he's better than Tom Brady, who's won 5 Super Bowl rings and he's basically dominated.
He cheated his way to half of them, dude. If he's so great, why did he have to film us? Why did he have to deflate balls in the AFC
not even
Championship
just Brady, though. What about Joe Montana?
Did Joe Montana use Stickum? I mean,
I'm not talking about cheating. I'm talking about winning Super Bowls.
Well, like I said, I did.
I'm just giving you that example. Listen,
But
I love Aaron Rodgers. I get your point.
I think.
I'm saying.
Can I just say?
Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice. I mean,
yes, but you look at the defenses that Tom Brady had, and I know Joe Montana had some great defenses as well. But you look at the defenses Tom Brady has had, or especially during the early part of that dynasty. Then you look at Randy Moss, Wes Welker.
Yeah, he's had
Rob Gronkowski. Now he has Brandon Cooks. I mean, he's had some good wide receivers as well. Yes, Jerry Rice is the GOAT.
Brady's never won a Super Bowl. Randy Moss.
But he had him for the year. It was almost the year they went perfect.
His best year statistically where he threw 50-something touchdowns.
Yeah, and they got beat by Giants, and as much as I hate the Giants, I was rooting for
Also,
them.
can I just say, we're going to get back to the Jets, and we'll talk with Jets for a bit, and then we'll end the show. But can I just say, I think I have the best tweet of the night. Kyle, you can check the Jet Take Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty good. It's like,
that was maybe the perfect gift for that.
Yeah, I don't know how we got here.
Yeah, it was just top 5 QBs of all time, and then it was like we were talking about Hackenberg now, and then it's just a Jimmy Kimmel gif after the whole Oscars drama.
He's really relatable.
He is. Kyle, I'll give you the mic to ask some Jets questions. I've kind of controlled the floor, and then Kyle Smith did. So Kyle Fahey, we have a plethora of topics we have not talked about. Let's delve into something we haven't really talked about. But your choice.
Dealer's choice. Fullback. That's always exciting.
Why did you choose? That's the one you chose from the Google Doc, really? The fullback?
Yep. It's intriguing, and I can't name 5 fullbacks all time. So
really? I think we could.
I probably can. Kyle, just now, do I have to do this?
No, you don't. All right, continue.
Okay, because I can't pronounce his last name. Fursker versus Hauser. We've been hearing about it at training camp from some semi-reliable sources. So, Ryan, I almost forgot your name. Sorry. What's your take on the fullback position? Your Jet take on it?
Fullback's really not the most interesting position, but probably Julian Hauser's probably going to win the job. I do think that at least in this offense, the West Coast, we will use a fullback. Definitely won't be like last year. So I definitely expect us to keep one. I've heard, from all over Twitter, people who've been there at camp and everything, that Hauser definitely improved in year 2. Taking a pretty big step from a linebacker, converting to a fullback. He's blocking well and even has pretty good hands. So, it should be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about special teams because, I'm a big special teams guy. I think it makes a difference of the world, unlike other people.
Kyle's the draft guy and the special teams guy.
Yeah, I'm special. Let's talk about
you are very special, Kyle.
Yeah, I was made in a lab. Nope, can't make that joke. But damn it, man, got me thrown off. Let's talk about the kicker position. Catanzaro versus Ross Martin Goat. Who do you think's gonna win that?
This should be interesting. I can't even pronounce the Arizona guy. I know who you're talking about though.
Catanzaro.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try. But
I think it's a really bad Italian place. Catanzaro's.
I'm hoping it's Ross Martin, to be honest. He had a pretty good college career.
Just so you can pronounce it, or just because you like him more?
Yeah.
I like Ross Martin. I was hoping he would kind of win last year to begin with. I do think
he's a Duke
last
guy,
year won the
so he's smart. So we seem to keep those guys around.
Martin, was good last year up until the preseason. So, when the lights came on, he didn't show up. So hopefully this year, when he gets his chance and he redeems himself. But, the other guy, though, like I said, I can't pronounce his name, but he does have a really strong leg. So, I think either one of them should be okay. But kickers are, they're weird. So they're on and off every year. So we'll see.
Yeah. It's strange how, relatable Ryan Fitzpatrick and Ross Martin are. Both have names start with R. Both went to higher education school. Both suck when it counts most. It's hard to deny. I would say let's talk about the punter competition, but it seems that the Jets are just okay with a guy who proved absolutely nothing last year. Let's just give you the job.
Hey, he's good for the social media account, so they got to keep him.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. Let's talk about the inside linebacker position, as I should say. I'm stupid. Lemonnier versus Bishop versus Martin versus Paysinger. Don't even know who Paysinger is exactly.
I wrote this one down. So Lemonnier, Bishop, and Martin are all outside linebackers. I think Bishop can play a little bit more of inside linebacker, but Paysinger's an inside linebacker. This is more the battle for the backup linebackers. Most likely, the Jets are going to take Jenkins, Malden, Donahue, Lee, Demario Davis, and I mean I probably could have thrown Julian Stanford in there. So that's 5 right there. And then you probably keep, I believe we had 7, 8, 9 linebackers. So the argument there is who's going to stick in that linebacking crew. So we kind of lumped inside linebacker and outside linebackers together. But Paysinger, Stanford, Lemonnier, Bishop, and Martin. Out of those, I think it's 5. Out of those 5, who's going to lock down the last 2 or 3 spots?
Okay, well, definitely I go Josh Martin 1. I think that just special teams alone, he should be definitely guaranteed a spot. I do hope that, based on the contract they gave him, it looks like they want him to contribute a little bit more on defense. So, I'm accepting that this year. I even seen during OTAs that he got some first-team reps. I don't know if he's getting that in training camp, but during the OTA period a few months ago he was. So I'd definitely count on him as 1. I like Corey Lemonnier a lot. I hope that he gets a spot, I thought he's very talented coming out a few years ago. Didn't really, produce like he was supposed to, but in Week 17 against Buffalo, I know it's one game, but he looked pretty good, so I wouldn't mind bringing him as a rotational guy. And the last guy, I'd probably go Julian Stanford. If you asked me a few weeks ago or a few days ago, actually, I wouldn't have said that, but based on the early days of training camp, I heard Stanford's playing, very well, and he's actually, gained muscle and that stuff. So I'd probably go Stanford as the last guy.
Yeah, a bulked up Julian Stanford's a scary sight. I mean, that dude's really fast. He's an amazing athlete. You look at him on Mock Draftable, he's compared to pretty fast running backs. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I'll look it up. But, put some weight on him, make him bigger, work on those fast twitch muscles, get him a little faster. You could actually have somebody in there who's not a complete, liability. Nobody agrees or disagrees.
Well, no, I thought Ryan was going to chime in. So
Thanks, guys. Just leave me.
Well, no, Julian Stanford's hit the weight room. I mean, you could look at his social media. I mean, there's the one picture the Jets released where he's flexing his biceps, and it's incredible. So yeah, I'm a big Julian Stanford fan.
All right, he's comparable to Ryan Shazier as a linebacker, which is, I'll take that. David Johnson as an athlete. Sammy Coates as an athlete, Christine Michael, Allen Robinson, T.J. McDonald, and Jeff Janis, all guys who, most of them wide receivers, running backs, with exception to T.J. McDonald, who plays safety, and he's all over 79%, comparable to them. So he's an amazing level athlete. He's just got to put it together mentally and, physically. Bulk up, we've seen him do that, so now let's just check the check mark for physically, and we may have something there.
Yeah, for sure. And
you guys are just leaving me out to dry right now. Just leaving me.
I was giving Ryan a chance, but okay. Anyways, I was switching to the next one. The last one, I think we covered all of them. Am I correct? Did we cover the backup tight end, Kyle?
Yes.
We did? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just moving down the line. So I believe we're at the safeties, right?
Sure.
Well, you were taking the reins, and I was responding, and I was working the Twitters, as they say.
Working them tweets.
Yes. Okay. Well, I guess we'll do the safeties.
I was DMing people, so.
Oh, okay, and hosting. Wow, good job, Kyle. Okay, well, obviously the Jets for the safety position, Adams may lock it down, barring an injury where they have to go on IR. Then you have 4 other safeties on this roster. Rontez Miles, a special teams, he's great on special teams, and he's a high-energy player in the box. And when he's allowed to run around and not really have to think much about coverage, he's pretty good. He's fast. He's explosive. Doug Middleton, free safety, really much the only free safety out of the 4 I'm going to mention. So he should have a good shot at making this. He had the heads-up play on special teams last year against the Bills, scored a touchdown. He splashed last preseason. He's looking good this year as well. I mean, I think in minicamp, he would have been the star if he hadn't dropped a few interceptions. But I think he dropped like 3 interceptions, which, it sounds like, he dropped 3 interceptions. But, he was in the position. He made the play on the ball to get in that position. So, you have Rontez Miles, Doug Middleton, Ronald Martin, who actually played pretty well in some limited time. I kind of like what he brings to the team. He's been looking really good in training camp. But, he kind of seems like he might be the odd man out. As well as, I don't want to butcher this, but Shamarko Thomas, who's more of the
hard to pronounce.
Well, you don't know. He's kind of more the Calvin Pryor, again, like a Rontez Miles, kind of the runaround, doesn't have to think too much, plays well in the box type of explosive guy. So Miles, Middleton, Martin, Thomas, are they battling for 3 spots? Are they battling for 4 spots? Dare the Jets keep 5? I don't think that would be very smart, but who's winning those last, there's probably those 2 spots out of the 4.
Yeah, I'm thinking bearing any injury, it'll be Miles and Middleton.
Are we forgetting Corey White in this scenario because he's just
I guess he counts as a safety, but I was more leaning towards. I guess he's also another free safety that you could throw in with Middleton. But I think the Jets will take Middleton over Corey White, especially how the team looks. I think you take the young guy with some talent.
Corey White's only 28. So who
only 28, Kyle? For this team, that's like pretty old. I mean, like.
Yeah, it's a savvy veteran who can play 2 positions.
But I'd rather take Doug Middleton from Appalachian State, who last year flashed a bit, and I don't know. Anyways, sorry, make your point. Because the Jets are using this year again, and this doesn't mean they can't win games. Because I want them to win 6, 7, or 8 games. But it's just see what young players work and what young players don't. You look around the team and you see what works and what doesn't.
I think you can see that in practice with safeties.
I don't think you
definitely
not, Kyle. That was maybe your worst take you've ever had. You definitely don't get a good read for how safeties play and just in practice. That's not a live rush or anything, Kyle. I mean, I think Calvin Pryor probably looked pretty good in
full practice. In like the 3rd week of practice, yes, you should definitely be full rush and hitting dudes.
Yeah, but Kyle, you can't. No, well, not quarterbacks. First of all, you can't have the quarterbacks. Second of all. Look, it doesn't stack up.
You can see
stack up when you have coaches on the field and telling you what to like. Practice is not the same as a game.
All right. Well, they also have preseason to see it then.
No, preseason is a good place to see it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think.
So who are the 4? Rontez Miles, Corey White, Doug Middleton, who? Ronald Martin, the last one.
Shamarko Thomas, Ronald Martin, Middleton, Miles. Out of those 4, who are the 2? Maybe 1. Maybe 3.
All right, we need the top 4 candidates for this poll.
All right. Are you seriously? Okay, you're stopping the show to tweet out.
Yes, I'm asking you the top 4 candidates, man.
All right. Well, it's Ronald Martin.
I mean, you could also keep Corey White as a corner.
That's the other thing Corey White brings is, if you want to stick a guy like safety. If you want to stick a guy, well, Jeremy Clark's not even playing, so you might have another spot in that corner depth chart where you could keep. I think we covered all the positions.
He'll be activated by.
Well, Kyle.
Yes.
How do you feel about your boy Petty getting 0 reps?
Oh.
Not 0 literally, but
I think he'll show his worth on the field. That's all that matters.
Kyle's cold quarterback take. Ryan, before we let you go, last thing, one surprising prediction.
Think Hackenberg's going to be
by the end of training camp. What's one surprising thing that'll happen? One surprising prediction. Whether this surprising player gets cut, surprising player undrafted guy makes the team. This guy's starting week 1. Whatever it is. What is your one surprise, or maybe 2, maybe 3, whatever you have. Just a few surprising predictions for the end of training camp.
Okay, I think Buster Seen will be cut or traded.
Good.
I think I just think with the young secondary, I don't think Screen is here next year anyway, and I think the Jets will start realizing that maybe there'll be a cornerback emerging. Like you guys said, I know he's your boy Ben. Maybe Xavier Coleman steps up. I think it'll be somebody who steps up anyway. One of the undrafted guys, one of the young guys, and this won't be a spot for him. I would have said maybe Marcus Williams before, but I do think we'll keep Williams around because he does bring something that no other corner really has proven. He can definitely get his hands on the ball and force turnovers, so I think we definitely need him maybe not as a starter, really comfortable with Marcus Williams as a starter, but to bring him in as a rotational guy, that's fine for me. And if I had to predict something else, I'd probably go I think Dylan Donahue will get a lot of he might not technically start, but I think he'll get a lot of playing time early on, which you wouldn't expect from a 6-7 round draft pick. But I think that the outside linebackers will just rotate a lot. I don't think there'll be any clear-cut starters outside of maybe Jordan Jenkins.
All right. Well, that's some hot takes fresh out of the oven from Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much for calling in. go ahead and give out your social media so our listeners can follow you. You are our last caller of the night.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. You guys can follow me at NY_Destination98. And hopefully Hackenberg or even Petty wins the job, guys. All right, no more McCown.
No more McCown, please. We'll take Hackenberg.
This is not McCown's town, I'll tell you that.
Okay, we'll take Hackenberg or Petty. Ryan, thank you so much for calling in. Make sure to call in during the preseason. We'll get your takes then.
You can get your tickets to those preseason games at SeatGiant.com.
Oh, look at this plug.
Use promo code.
That was really cool, guys. That was awesome, and keep up the good work with it. I see you guys having like these daily, weekly guests. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, we have a big one.
Special one. We got a special one.
It might not be next. It could be next week. Could be the week after that. But we probably have our biggest one coming up, so we're pretty excited.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Looking forward to it.
All right, see you, man. Again, that was Ryan. All right, Kyle, let's wrap this show up. And yeah, I know. I think we're going to do our best to try to get a guy on the show every week. No, it might not be every week, but recently I think we've had a guy. I mean, we were on a stretch. I think of maybe 6 in a row, 5. I mean, I'm trying to think of all our shows.
Doing well.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, look.
We had Darryl Slater this week, ASJ.
Well, we don't have to count it. We don't have to count them all, Kyle. But anyways, we've been doing pretty well. We're excited to bring you that. That's probably my favorite thing to do is do the interviews. But we're learning, getting better, and we're excited to bring you guys. Some of the guys that you don't really see on other podcasts or websites. Just through Kyle and I's interesting ways of getting them. They're not very conventional. But anyways, thank you so much for listening. You can follow us at thejettake on Twitter. That's the best place to reach us. You can also follow us on Instagram and YouTube. YouTube, we're going to be doing. Kyle has the thing he likes to run, and we'll do it after some preseason games and games throughout the year. It's called Takeoff. You can check that out. It also has all our podcast episodes as well as a few pump-up videos. So check us out there. Instagram just has some photos. Go make sure to follow us there. To listen to the podcast, if you have an iPhone or any sort of Apple device, you can go to iTunes. That's the best place to find us. If you don't, you can also go to iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher. We're all over the place. Just search.
We service everybody.
Yes.
I did not.
Yeah, just keep going. Thank you so much for listening. But you can find us on all those avenues. Thank you so much for all the love and support we've gotten recently. We've hit over 900 followers on Twitter, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for us that
that's big.
That's pretty big.
Just us doing our thing. Getting our own ads, getting to 900. Like little promotion, little backing, and that's big for us.
Oof. Anyways, but again, last time we'll promote. Again, go listen to Play Like a Jet podcast. That's one thing you have to check out. We also have we might have some big announcements coming up in a few weeks, not just guests, some other stuff. The 2 places to get the cheapest Jets tickets. You can officially get official Jets tickets that are, we're working with them to 3 games this year, 3 home games. You'll get, cheap, official, great seats. Miami Dolphins, the home opener. Jacksonville Jaguars,
must see.
Atlanta Falcons. Use the promo code thejettake, and you'll get a discount on those tickets. And then for the cheapest tickets for all other games, make sure you go. And by the way, that really helps out the podcast. That really is a big deal for us. So please, if you're interested in going to those games, please check out try to use the Jets website and use the Jet Take. For all other games, including preseason games and other home games and away games, you can use SeatGiant and enter the code thejettake. Also helps out the podcast. So make sure to go to SeatGiant.com when you go enter the promo code thejettake. So the Jet Take for both of those. Make sure you go buy that. I think that does it for us. I shouted out our social medias again. You can follow me personally at Ben W. Blessington. I don't want to give out Kyle's Twitter because it's a little too hot take.
Yeah.
But, Kyle Fahey NFL if you want.
Little inappropriate, guys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We have to make that private.
Yeah. No, sorry about that, guys.
Anyways, thank you so much for tuning into another episode. We are absolutely blessed to be doing this week after week, and we're excited to continue. Thank you. I've never heard that pun before. Actually, you made it worse. I've heard much better ones. But we're excited to keep bringing you content throughout preseason. Again, big things coming. So we're pretty excited. All right, Kyle, any last words before we end the show? This is going to be a long episode, but
go. If you guys, I see everybody clamoring. People are in battles right now, tank or not. Either way, support the team. Go to the home opener. Go to the Dolphins game. whoever's starting at quarterback, whoever's developing,
they'll
whoever
still
doesn't
theoretically be in. I mean, even if they're 0-2,
still theoretically
they could be 1-1.
Yeah.
They could even be 2-0. Who knows? Let's maybe not get too crazy, but they'll still be in convention. It should be a nice day. The Jets probably wearing all white versus one of the former rivals. So make sure you go check that out. All right, that'll do it for us. We'll leave you with the best chant in the National Football League as always. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keep up the love and support. Also, please write a review on iTunes for us. That really helps out. Reviews on iTunes.
We're asking for a lot of help, guys.
I know. We're asking for a lot this week. A lot of promos, a lot of shout-outs. It's a lot to handle. But if you handle it all, please write a review. That also really helps on the podcast. We're just trying to keep growing the podcast, doing this for fun. We're excited.
Building the brand. Brick by brick.
Don't have a brand, Kyle.
That's debatable.
I do not have a brand. And again, blog page. That's the one. I wish we had the blog page. www.thejettake.listen.com. See, we need to get down the speech I give at the end, where my plug speech is not as strong as
you're like Obama. You need it on the prompt, and otherwise you're just gonna stutter. Yep. Keep going.
I was trying to find the boo soundbite, but I couldn't find it. But we're just gonna boo.
I mean,
anyways, best chant in the NFL. Oh my God, Kyle. Best chant in the NFL. Can we end this damn show? We'll leave you the best chant in the National Football League. Take care. We'll talk to you guys next Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern.
Promo code thejettake.
I mean, I could end it, but yeah, okay. I'm just gonna end it. Oh, also, really quickly.
Oh my God.
Call into the show. Just one more plug. I promise next week will be much cleaner. To call into the show, because we've had people ask that don't have Twitter, and we don't really ever give out the number. But to call into the show, 1-515-739-1285. Enter the PIN 261-860 with the hash sign. That's how you can call it. Anyways, thanks so much. Talk to you guys next week.